Am I on, guys? Am I on? If someone can confirm or deny that I'm back, that would be really awesome. And with the candidates game here, I've tried to fix the audio and video. I think I was streaming on the wrong profile. I was streaming on my recording profile instead of my streaming profile, so probably the video was a bit cluttered. Is video fine now? I think it should be because I fixed the. Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's just I was streaming on my recording profile instead of my streaming profile on OBS. Didn't have a miss something there. But now we are back. Should be all good. Should be all good. How are we doing today? How are we feeling about the candidates? How are we feeling, guys? Nakamura seems to be in a really aggressive mood, doesn't he? Really aggressive today, going for this G5, G4 idea straight away. Ooh, ooh. Played G4, has he? Let me refresh. Where are we? Okay. Castles G5, knight D2, bishop G7, and bishop B3. Interesting idea. So he's not going for any direct G4. I don't think that's his intention since he has put the bishop on G7. So he's probably intending to castle but plays this A5. So he's in deep preparation. And like combining bishop G7 with A5 has to be preparation. Because these moves look very inconsistent, but if Nakamura's playing it, he definitely has a reason. And he replied a5 in response to bishop b3. So my guess is that a5 has a connection with bishop just going on b3. He didn't play it earlier for a reason. Nakamura does revenge. I completely agree. Completely agree. Why do you think he plays a5 before, just after bishop goes to b3? I'm still trying to figure out the reason myself. Because I haven't analyzed this line deeply, but I've seen a few games from Hans in this line. However, I have never seen the a5 idea before in this line. I've seen a5 when the bishop goes to c5, but a5 here, I actually have no clue. Does he want to play b5? Is he aiming for b5 a4? Is that something he wants? But if you play b5, I play a4, right? So that doesn't work. What's the point of a5? I genuinely have no clue. I think it is yet to be revealed. Um, Maybe he wants to put the bishop on d7, knight e7, and then a4. Is that an idea? Could be, right? Bishop d7, knight e7, and d4. That seems more logical. The knight could head to g6 and then to f4 in some variations. And I think black will castle as well. Okay, Vidit plays a4 reasonably quickly. Reasonably quickly. Now I think bishop d7 or short castle is possible. I think we can safely start with short castle, nothing wrong with it. Unless Nakamura wants to keep his options open with bishop d7. Maybe he wants to play g4, in which case perhaps it's better to wait before short castling. It's really concrete here, so it depends on his preparation. I think both are actually possible, so it's not concrete, but really depends on what Nakamura has prepared. What do you think, Isomaniac, if you're still there? How's it going? What is Nakamura intending? Looks really sharp. Position looks really sharp. Or at least about to get really sharp. Oof, oof. Nakamura is really determined to win this one. I can tell from the opening. Let's see. Let's see. We got a4. We got a4 at least. And now, whew, castling or bishop d7. Let's say castling for example. Might the play begin. And now this chess.com is bugging as usual. I'll have to change the game and then come back, I guess. Let's say I make a move. Ah, it becomes too bright, doesn't it? Yeah, chess.com bugging as usual. Okay, let's say we do short castle. Little bit too bright, sorry about that, can't help it, it's chess.com's problem. But let's say short castle, we can go knight c4 maybe? To go knight e3 maybe? And f5, control these squares. Engine doesn't seem to like it that much, why? It says rook e8, knight e3, knight e7. And now it's changing the evaluation. Now it says h4 might be playable. So this can get, okay, this can get sharp. This can get sharp. But my thought was, why not play knight c4 here to go knight e3? I don't like rook e1 just yet. I think there might be g4 if I play rook e1. Can I play rook e1? No, g4 is actually good for black. Knight h4, knight takes e4 and the pawn, the knight hangs. So can't play that, and I don't want to play h3. It just looks wrong to play h3 because always option of g4. Even though black's castled here, I still prefer playing knight c4 first. I don't know if I want to play h3 or not, so I'm going to keep my option flexible. But knight c4 is something I could do. Put the knight on e3, aim for d5 and f5, and then probably go h4 in some scenario. Now, let's say black responds with bishop e6. Now it's a question, right? What to do? If I play knight e3, there is d5. This is what I didn't like. But perhaps I can play rook e1, g4, knight h4, still there is takes. I guess I don't have an option but to start with h3. I have to avoid g4 after rook e1. So h3, queen d7, rook e1, and then I'm trying to play d4. Rook d8, let's say he tries to play d5, bishop d2. It's an attempt to weaken this pawn after playing d4. Let's say rook e8. Now engine goes really weird, says rook b1, which is of course not human. But if d4, is that a problem? It is a problem. There is knight takes, of course, and then takes d5. So engine says go rook b1, move this bishop to a2 and play b4. Strange, but probably works. Hello, candy shop owner. Knight a3 where? Could you tell me that? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Knight a3 where exactly? You probably mean after bishop e6. Do you mean knight a3 now? Okay, so right here, right? Knight a3. So can you explain me your plan? What exactly are you trying to achieve with knight a3? Because I don't know where you want to place the knight. So where are you trying to go with that knight? Or what's your plan? I just want to know. Maybe I can help you correct, some concept. So if you're trying to put the knight to b5, it might get kicked with c6 at some point. So I'm not too sure about that. You play knight a3, maybe I play knight e7. You play knight b5, I probably play c6 and kick out your knight. So is there another plan which I'm missing? Knight a3, even queen d7 works probably. So you play knight a3, I play queen d7, knight b5, and then I play knight e7. That's also possible. is just, I don't think you should be moving towards a3. That's probably the wrong direction. If something, you want to put your knight on e3 at the right moment. If he doesn't take the bishop, though, and bringing out queen b3. Okay, so now this is a common error. Actually, you're not the first one to make this error, but many people have done this. So let's say you play knight a3. I even make a pass with king h7. This is not good, but let's say I even make a pass. For the sake of example, let's say you take and play king queen b3. This actually doesn't do anything. I can even play queen d7, and if you take, I can trap your queen. So this plan is actually not useful in itself. Queen d7, your plan is unsuccessful. And your queen is just standing there, not doing much after that. I can even play b6 and it will all be good for black. Then I can ask you, what is your knight doing on a3? Did I explain it properly? Candy shop owner. Knight a3 is on a dubious square and queen on b3 doesn't achieve anything, since neither taking on b7 nor taking on e6 is possible. VD is consuming more time in the opening itself. Naka is playing on both sides, and as usual, VD is burning his time. It is a small win for Hikaru. What's your take on VD's time management? Yes, now this is an important point that you've mentioned. If you give Nakamura enough time on the clock, he's not going to make any mistakes, especially if he's in his preparation. In fact, that goes for any super grandmaster. If they are in their preparation and they are highly up on the clock, there is a very, very low chance that they will lose the game. And this is what makes them being 2700 plus. So yes, Vidit needs to be faster, but I don't think his time management has been too bad so far. He still has only spent like 20 minutes on the clock, right? So it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's probably possible. I just need to refresh and see how many moves have been played. So, okay, we only have castle, only 9 moves. Maybe we could be a little bit faster, but at least he hasn't made any mistakes so far. No mistakes so far by VD. He must have seen this line before. I think the surprising thing for Vidit will be the A5, A4 inclusion. This A5, A4 inclusion is unique, I think, according to me. And what are its subtleties? I have no idea, because I've never played this position as either side. We could have had this exact position with the pawns being on a7 and on a2, but Nakamura chose to play a5. And this is what I think is making Vidit take some time. Because I can bet that Vidit knows this position without a4, a5. But the subtleties of a4, a5 are a bit too deep. So what's your take on this a5, a4 inclusion? That's what I'm curious to hear. I think this is what makes the game interesting. This is Nakamura's special idea, this inclusion. But what's its point? We'll see soon, I guess. See soon, I guess. Okay, knight c4 by Vidit. This was... What's the point of g5? Point is that the center is closed, so you're not really... Okay, yeah, let me explain it this way, right? So you're always trying to open the center with d4 in these lines, right? You're always trying to achieve rook e1 d4. But with the pawn on g5, you always have to deal with g4. So it stops you from achieving this idea in one way. The other idea is that sometimes this knight goes to g6 quite often in these lines. And with a pawn on g5, you are able to place this knight on g6 and have knight f4 in the future. So you have 1, 2, 3 and possibly queen in the future. So lots of attackers, even bishop towards white's king. The other point is that if white plays h3, which is common in these lines, then g4 might create a hook and this comes with force. So these are few ideas. The main one being is that d4 is a bit difficult to achieve right now. That's the main one. The other thing is that you always have to worry about g4. So in every variation that you're calculating, you have to take into account black's g4, which can be psychologically annoying. And it's practically sound as well, as engine tells us. So it's got a few points to make with it burn time on the clock. And if Nakamura knows this position, it's risk-free for him, isn't it? If Nakamura studied, let's say, this position deeply before the candidates, he really isn't in any danger. If you make these moves like h6 g5 as a 1200, then there is problem. Then you probably don't have an idea of what you're doing. But Nakamura for sure knows. As I showed, so knight h5, you have to constantly worry about knight f takes e5. So I'll show this in right now. If you play knight h5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and you lose this knight for a pawn. That's the thing. Or even knight h5, I even have knight takes g5, don't I? This knight is always unsupported. How about knight e1? I know it's passive and restricts rook development, but maybe go to c2 later instead of knight knight c4. But knight e1 is with the second knight. The c4 is with another knight, so I don't get your point. But in general, if you move the knight away from f3, you are allowing black to play d5, and he opens up the center under favorable circumstance. Do you get the point I'm trying to make? If you play knight e1, black gets in d5, which opens up his pieces really well. He gains more space. How about h3, knight h2? Not the... Yeah, that's a plan I have seen from time to time. Whether it works in this position or not has to be concretically calculated. It's a plan I have seen in some lines. h3, knight h2 is not dubious in some lines. Whether it is right here or not, we'll have to figure out. Ideally, white should be trying to play knight e3 with some combination of moves. If white gets knight e3 under favorable circumstances, his problems are majorly solved. Majorly. So that's what he needs to figure out. But let's explore h3. Why not? Let's explore h3. Okay, the screen goes bright because that's chess.com's problem. How's it looking on OBS? Yeah, weird, right? So let's play h3. Don't know why chess.com keeps doing this, guys. Bear with me. Bear with me. h3, possible. I think g4 is not possible here. I can take. And if you take with the bishop, you have actually wasted a tempo going two ways. And now knight e3 works very well. So you spent 2 tempi to get to g4. Knight e3 hits your bishop. If you go back, I have good control over f5. If you go h5, I have even better control over f5. And this actually creates some trouble. So now that the knight is on c4, g4 is not a major threat. So we can play h3 now. g4 is not a major threat now as knight e3 comes very comfortably. On the other hand, if you take with the knight, which seems reasonable, I can still actually play knight e3, which seems okay. Or even start with rook e1. There is no concrete threat. Queen h4 is not coming. I always have a knight on f3. So I can even start with rook e1 and then play knight e3 or knight e3 directly. Don't need to worry about much here. Engine actually shows me knight cd2, which is weird, but probably a possible move. Really weird. But I like rook e1, simply developing. Let's say queen d7, natural move. And now knight e3 helps me. Knight takes. Rook takes because I want to place the rook on g3 at some point. Knight e7. And I could probably play knight h4 and rook g3. Doing attack like this. So this is how things can go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. But this was just an example variation. It did not include best moves from both sides. Well, not best moves from black's side. But let's say queen d7. Now, can we play knight h2? If I play knight h2 right now, there is actually still d5, right? Which I mentioned in if you play knight e1. So you have to deal with this first, and then maybe we can go for knight h2. So how to deal with this? We can start with rook e1. So if d5 comes in, I always have takes and e5 pawn has pressure. Let's say rook d8 by black. And then I can probably play bishop d2 or knight e3. Which one? Let's say knight e3. d5. Queen c2. And this seems playable, although it looks comfortable for black as well. Seems playable for both sides. But even better would be this idea. Bishop d2, move this bishop, go for b4. That's another idea. Opening the H line in the opening seems scary. For white or for black? Which one? For white or for black? Who is it scary for? So we are now trying to move the b3 bishop and get b4. And I feel like I'm starting to understand this a5 move. I think the effect of b4 is reduced if the pawn stands on a5. If the pawn was on a7, let's say, then b4, b5 probably is a bit more efficient by white. It's not scary. It's actually scarier for black because black has the h6 weakness. It's actually scarier for black. So if we were to review this line, let's say, how was it? Let's say bishop e6, h3. Let's say g4, h takes, let's say bishop takes. This is actually scarier for black because he has to deal with the h6 pawn weakness. I could play knight e3. Let's say bishop goes d7, for example. Now knight h4. This other knight is coming in. Queen g4 or queen h5 might come in at some point, and you know he has to deal with this king, even with this sharpshooter bishop. I think it's a lot scarier for black than it is for white. Why do you think it's scarier for white? Where does black attack you? You don't need to be scared about any imaginary attack, right? That's called being scared of ghosts. So unless you see some concrete attack by black, there is no need to be scared. It's black who needs to be scared since you are threatening knight h4, knight f5. Yeah, I hope I clarified that. Mathad Maheshwari, if you're still there, did you understand the when h3 knight h2 works? I think it would work without knight h4 as well, but if knight h4 helps you understand it better, then by all means. The point really is that black does not have attacking resources yet, and f5 and the b3 bishop are really really sharp, really sharp. So shall we wait for this game or shall we move on to another one? Because it is interesting, but we could also have a look elsewhere. Your wish, guys. Your wish. We got rook e1, rook e8 insertion. Yeah, Vidit is probably a bit skeptical of h3. I would be too. The top engine line also suggests yes. Rook a3. I saw rook a3. I'll just explain the rook a3 thing, and then we'll move on to next game for sure. So the reason engine is saying rook a3 is actually a little bit deep. Rook a3 does not have to do with rook b3 getting b7. That's an additional bonus. That's a bonus. The other point is that after knight moves, my queen stays closer to black's king. While on b3, it is more focused on the queen side. So if I play rook a3 and then knight e3 and then black takes, I take back, my queen is feel free to aim its eyesight towards the king rather than the queen side. The rook is doing its function on the queen side, and the queen will act towards the king side. So the point is really putting pieces on right squares. The queen belongs towards the king side. With that, we can move on to the next game. Hope I Vidit finally plays h3. He realizes that it's not a big threat anymore. Good understanding by him. Very good understanding. And decent time management as well, I would say. Next game. Let's see. Let's see. Alireza. Oh, has he played the King's Indian? King's Indian attack. Knight f3, d5, b3, g3. Okay, sort of ready going into King's Indian. Interesting variation. There are lots of setups you can make, so this is just Nepomniachtchi's chosen one. I think Firoza wanted to avoid theory. What's your take on this opening choice by Firoza? I'm very curious, guys. What do you think? Playing a King's Indian attack as white against Nepomniachtchi when you're playing for a win. Good choice or bad? Good choice or bad? It's interesting. I think Firoja has tried to avoid any preparation, but Firoja is the one who's down on clock. Funny, isn't it? He wanted to play a game without any theory, but he's the one. He wants. I feel like Ian's pawns are well placed. Yeah, they are. They are. Nothing wrong with them. Nepo has a good chance to stabilize his winning chances in the tournament. Yes, he definitely has. Also, he's co-leading with Gukesh, isn't he? So, I mean, he has made a solid structure. The light square bishop is outside the pawn chain. Black's light square bishop is outside the pawn chain, so that's a good sign. It would be a bit more better for white if this bishop was on c8 instead of f5. So, seems like Nepo's doing okay. The only thing I need to consider is whether white can win the bishop pair with knight h4. If white can win this bishop pair, then white is doing good, but if not, then black is completely fine. So the only critical move is knight h4 we need to see. If we play knight h4, there is bishop g4, h3, bishop h5. So black is trying to avoid giving the bishop pair at all costs. Bishop pair is something which is really important in open positions. I hope you guys know that, or I hope you guys start to appreciate that. Let's say we play g4 to gain the bishop pair. Black has this nice trick with knight d7. If you take, black takes, and this pawn can be claimed to be a little bit weak. And we can say that this bishop is somewhat strong. But now, after this, something like this, black's squares are really, really weak. Really weak, and h5 pawn is really weak. So white cannot win the bishop pair, so it's not critical. Okay, now I'll answer some questions. Nepomniachtchi has a good chance to stabilize his winning chances in the tournament. I think I already answered that. And the next one is, who's your favorite in the candidates? I actually think my feeling says Nakamura is going to win. You might think I'm exaggerating. You might think I'm going too far with this, but I think there's a chance. I think Nakamura has a real chance. But if not, I think the second, I would say the second most likely person to win is Gukesh. And the third one is Nepomniachtchi, I would say. But my feeling says Nakamura will win. You think that's a controversial take, or you think that's reasonable? Reasonable or controversial? Nakamura is only trailing by half a point, isn't he? Only half a point. So, yeah, until you guys type, I'll just commentate a little bit more. Refresh just in case to see if any moves have been made. Okay, seems like Firouzja has started to he played rook e1. Black played h6 to avoid any knight h4s and create an escape square for the bishop. Reasonable. e4 takes. Oh, he doesn't take. I thought he could have taken. Open up the d file, simplify the play, but maybe he wants to complicate as well. It's the thing that now white has additional option of taking on d5 or playing knight e5. So I thought black could have reduced white's options by taking on e4. Seems a bit too far-fetched, but Nepo has a great chance. Yeah, it's a question, right? I mean, Nepo definitely has a good chance. I don't disagree with you. But it seems like Nakamura's really gaining tempo, isn't he? He's starting to feel himself in the positions. So I think if Nakamura comes under good form, it's probably going to be tough for the others. I feel like candidates Nepo is like top 10 of all time. I was rooting for Vidit, but after seeing Gukesh, feel like he deserves the spot. Yeah, Gukesh has been working incredibly hard and he has been playing the one of the best chess of his lives. But it's really awesome to see him performing so well at such a young age. Such a young age. And yeah, he's awesome. Amazing at calculation. Amazing at calculation. So definitely, I mean, if he cracks this candidates, it would be a huge achievement for him and for India. Like a 17-year-old challenging for the World Championship match. Have you ever seen that before, Carlsen? I don't think Carlsen was 17 when he challenged for the World Championship match, was he? Have you played against any? Oh, this is a fun question you asked. I have actually played Alireza in a Blitz tournament online, and I actually won. And I actually won. Although he was on Berserk. You know what Berserk is on leeches? So he was on Berserk. I had 3 minutes against his 1.5, but I won. Yeah. Yes, Gukesh would be the youngest candidates. Yes. Not to go Gukesh here. He can take on d5 or he can play knight e5. It's up to him. Not Gukesh, sorry, Alireza. Alireza. I mean, people were talking about that the game which Gukesh won against Alireza, he won it in like barely any seconds on the clock, right? Both sides. And someone was commenting on the chat that I think Alireza's bullet games paid off, which he practiced with Danya some time ago. He was also playing bullet at night before one of the subsequent rounds. So they were just making that kind of joke. It actually paid off, so the joke's not on him anymore, is it? Yeah. You guys think I should move on to the next game? This one looks plain. Nothing special going on here. Standard King KIA. What do you think? Yeah, sure. Let's see. We just looked at with it, didn't we? I'll come back to with it very soon. I'll just have a quick look if there's anything interesting elsewhere. Oh, Gukesh playing Prag. I didn't even know this was happening. Prodigies playing each other. We got a standard Rui Lopez, haven't we? And another A5 again. A5 is the move of the day, isn't it? Everyone's playing A5. Yeah, Prag Gukesh. Yeah, did I say something else? I did say Prag Gukesh, right? Yeah. This standard Rui Lopez, I'll just show some ideas. D3, yeah, main move is castling. D3 is becoming popular to avoid some theory, although, well, D3's theory is more or less known as well. Carlsen played a very nice game with knight c3 here against Kmar. You guys might want to check this out. You guys know who Vincent Kmar is, right? The German prodigy. Carlsen played an excellent game in knight c3. You thought the image of the candidates is the is the pairing for today. No, no, no. This is just the list of players. This is just the list of players. No, it just happens to be. No, no, no. Oh, actually, it happens to be a coincidence that Nakamura's playing Gujarati and they are side by side in the image. And is Caruana playing Abasov? That would be a nice coincidence. Oh, Caruana is playing Abasov. Caruana is playing Abasov. So I can see where you got that from. We were nearly correct. We were nearly correct. Well, okay, I'll continue with this. So d c5 takes. Yeah, okay, this is a new line, I guess. This is some preparation because main move is castling here or c3 to prevent any knight d4s and to play d4 yourself. Castling or c3 is main. Bishop c6 is a possibility. It's not bad. And c3 is played. You can definitely play c3. There is also knight d2 to go knight c4. Or you can just start with castling. Lots of move orders possible. But c3 is possible. It threatens knight takes e5. Taking on e5 right now would be a blunder because black has queen d4 threatening this knight and checkmate. And if you play bishop e3, I take. If you play d4, I can actually give a check, but even taking here is good. And queen takes g2, white loses here. So you should play knight d2 or c3. Gukesh played c3, which is fine. Queen e7, h3. Lots of h3 and a5 today, isn't there? Knight, bishop d6, knight d2, a5, castles. He plays castles after h3. I think he was avoiding bishop g4. He could have started with knight c4 as well. Attacking here, again the knight can go to this square. And castles. Wow, guys, Praggnanandhaa has a fantastic idea here. Hello, Ramvedi, thank you for joining. Yes, Praggnanandhaa has this amazing g5 idea. You remember I was talking about this in the VD game, Vidit's game, that when the pawn is on h3, g5 ideas become possible. Praggnanandhaa has g5 straight away here. And imagine how crazy this game will become. How crazy this game will become if Praggnanandhaa plays this and wins. This will be crazy, guys. g5 is the move. I mean, I am waiting for this one. You know, rook g8, Mathad Maheshwari that you are pointing about. Rook g8 was played in a similar position by Kramnik some time ago. It was either Kramnik or Aronian. One of these guys played rook g8 with the idea. Excellent game. You should definitely have a look. Beautiful. It was absolutely fantastic. Hello Ram and hello Goli. What do you mean? I mean, can I even get a rating? What does that mean? If you practice enough, you'll definitely gain a rating and a high one as well. Guys, will we see g5 or not? That's the question. That's the question. Will Praggnanandhaa take his chances? He doesn't. He plays conservatively. He plays knight d7. Conservative chess by Praggnanandhaa. And you know what? It probably, when you are trailing by half a point, you don't want to risk too much. No, maybe he could prepare it. Maybe he's threatening g5 straight away. The queen is supporting the g5 pawn, so he doesn't need to prepare it with h6. But he loses castling on the king side, right? Also g4 works for white. Not exactly. Remember, Praggnanandhaa has not castled yet, so he can castle queen side. That's a point. Praggnanandhaa can also castle queen side. But if you play g5 and you responded with g4, since I haven't castled, I can actually attack you with h5. My king is really safe. Your king is the one that comes in danger first. Can you see? Actually, now white is the one who has to make bigger decisions than black. So this will become really bad for white. Really bad. So you should not play g4 here. Your king is castled, his king isn't. He has the queen side castling rights. h5 will... He's 2 moves away, right? All he needs to do is put a bishop on d7 and long castle. 2 moves. It's not slow. Bishop d7 and long castle. Oh, actually, after knight d7, it's a bit more than that, isn't it? Oh, he's played knight d7. Sure. Okay, let's say knight d7, right? So, what do you think why... So, you guys are trying to argue that g5 might be slow. You guys are arguing that g5 might be slow since black cannot castle. So, I want you to, let's say, play a move and let's see what we can make work. So, what do you think white should play here? Would you say white plays something like d4 to open the center? If you play d4, I'm probably not going for g5 because now you are faster. And you don't have g4, the bishop is blocked. I agree. I agree. Probably don't have g5 here. But let's say you make a plain move like a3. Plain vanilla move like a3. Do I have g5 now? That's what I have to think. Apparently g5 doesn't work here because of the knight on d7. Apparently knight c4 is very good here. And even after a move like rook g8, threatening g4, d4 actually white is first. White is first to attack the center. And it's not too difficult for white. The key reason being that this bishop cannot join the attack soon. The problem mainly doesn't come from black's king being weak, although it's something. The problem mainly comes from black's attack not being fast enough due to the bishop being locked in. Yeah, it will liquidate, and then you can argue black's king is in the center, although still hard to attack it. But white definitely has achieved more positional goals than black. And always knight e3, knight f5 is coming. So knight e3 actually attacks as well as defends. Knight e3 works very well. Let's say de5, knight e5, knight takes, bishop takes. Okay, in the end, I even have queen takes h5. But I could take, queen takes h5, bishop e6. I mean, even with this, you might think liquidations has happened. You might think liquidations have happened, but even after long castling, I don't think it's very easy for white. White still has to find a lot of good moves. Like, practically speaking, it's possible. It's Praggnanandhaa's risk appetite. Depends on Praggnanandhaa's risk appetite. Hi, what about push pawn after e5, h3 and open rook? Where do you mean that? G3 will suffice. Right here? You mean right here? G3 doesn't quite work. Long castling, black starts to get a little bit better. Rook h8 is coming. Rook h8, h3, you have big problems there. I don't think that works. You don't want your opponent to have more attackers than you have defenders, because that's where things go wrong. Sorry, I forgot to answer one question. What about push pawn after e5, h3 and open rook? No worries, Mathad. What about push pawn after e5, h3? Can you explain that a little bit better, Candy Shop? I don't get what you're talking about. E5 and h3, I don't know where that comes from. Where exactly? If you could tell me, I'll be very happy to put the position on the board. Not easy. Will h4 work? Where? Here, you mean Ram? I'm going to assume you mean here. I don't think so. You're still weakening your queen takes e4, right? Simply. Bishop h3 or bishop d5. Threatening mate. I think it's like 3 moves before. Okay, let me see. So 1, 2, 3 here somewhere. Somewhere around here. Who will win the candidates? Teshal, thank you for joining the stream. I don't know, but my bet is on Hikaru. So the question here was, can we play e5? E5, h3? Oh, so you mean what about g4 by black? Something like that. Is that what you mean? G4 by black. If you can... But it's white's move, so white actually takes first, right? So white takes, If you can't play g4 right now because d6 bishop hangs with a tempo. Oh, before h5, okay. Yeah, okay, g4 is a possibility. The point is that when I take, this rook is a little bit unprotected, and but more importantly, knight e3 comes with a tempo, and I get knight f5. You might ask, isn't this a free pawn? It actually isn't. I have knight f5, queen f6, and this rook is actually awkwardly placed, so it will get trapped very soon. I can take, pawn takes, knight g5, only square is h4, and then there is g3. I know it's a long line, but after g3, rook h6, knight e4, boom, 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 things start to go wrong. And principally speaking, this happens for a couple of reasons. Firstly, your rook is inadequately protected. Your rook is inadequately protected, and your pieces as black are undeveloped. So this happens for a couple of reasons. That's why, principally speaking, it should not work. Principally. I like to give logic behind everything. You know, I'm not a person who just likes to determine everything by calculation. I try to, place some logic before calculating. I think that gives me a right direction to calculate. I think you guys should try that as well. Try to make logic work first and then try to make it work concretically. But I mean, if you have your own style, you really love to calculate, then by all means. My FIDE rating is 2375. So I'm a FIDE master, 2375. Standard, yeah. And my chess.com is, on my anonymous account, my chess.com is 2650, I think. So, I mean, I'm reasonably qualified enough to help you guys, I would think. I mean, feel free to disagree. I'm not Hikaru. But I've got some practical understanding. Hope that helps. I'm getting lot of what do you call it? Lot of engagement in the chat. So I'm very happy today. Really happy to see you guys. Can you go to the Hikaru game? Yeah, sure. We can have a look. We can have a look. Has it sharpened a bit? No. So Vidit actually played bishop d2, which was something we were discussing, weren't we? We were discussing bishop d2, the idea to move the b3 bishop. We'll move the b3 bishop and we'll play b4. So this is something we were discussing. Alternatively, we discussed the rook a3 idea. We said we could play rook a3, then knight e3. Rook will take at some point, and then this queen can be focused towards the king side rather than being on. So few ideas there. Vidit has opted for queen c2. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think c2 is best, logically speaking. Can you guys try to understand why I don't think? Sorry, can you guys get the feeling of why I don't think queen c2 is best? My thinking is that the queen belongs towards the king side. Would you say you somewhat agree or somewhat get a feeling for it? I want my queen to have this diagonal always under control so that I can always take care of g4 and knight h5 stuff. What is the rating difference between FIDE and online? So, 1600 online is very different from 1600 FIDE. 1600 FIDE would be much harder to achieve than 1600 online. So online rating will always be a bit higher than your FIDE. For most players. For most players. You are 1800 in Blitz. Oh wow, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. 1700 in Rapid. Yeah, not too bad. That's okay. Well, hopefully after this stream your rating would improve. My guess. I'm trying to I try to explain concepts as simply as possible. As simply as possible. Very good engagement, guys. Really happy to see so much engagement. 1800. How long have you been playing for, Candy Shop owner? And how, like all the other viewers, how long have you been playing for? So, what will be my rating if I will be for FIDE? You can, well, depends on the country as well, but general rule is a difference of 300 400 points. So if you're 1600 online, you can expect to be about 1100 to 1200 FIDE. Could be more, could be less, but 1100 to 1200 is the most likely estimate. 300 400 point difference is common. Yeah. So for example, like I have reached 2600 2700 on chess.com, and my FIDE is 2375. So my difference is what, like 300 points? Yeah. And also my brother, he's like 2400 chess.com, and his FIDE is like 2000. So 300 400 point difference is common. Am I Indian or American? I'm Indian. I'm Indian. I actually live in London. I don't even live in India anymore. I live in London. So I'm streaming from London actually. Welcome to chat, Keshav. But yeah, so that's that. I mean, if you have any more questions, let me know. I'll commentate for a little bit. So I want my queen here. Vidit played queen c2. Not the biggest fan of this move, but it's not terrible. And now that this queen is off from d1, I think now someone suggested the move knight h5. Was it Isomaniac who suggested knight h5, or someone else? Knight h5 is a possibility now. I forgot who it was. I started playing after watching. Yeah, Isomaniac. Your move is now finally, now that the queen is away from d1. I I started playing after watching Queen's Gambit in late 2021. Also, do you think I can cross 2300 FIDE rating? You haven't gotten any coaching yet. How old are you? Okay, Candy Shop, you're 18. Well, you're quite late with starting chess. 18 is very late by professional standards. I started at 11, which is still quite late. But let's say if you, it's a question, right? What are your aims? Do you have enough time to dedicate to chess? Because as you get older, the time to dedicate to chess becomes much lesser. If you have time, if you can dedicate enough time and you can constantly practice with discipline, it's possible. It's possible. Possible. Very difficult, but possible. Tishal says for around 6 years over the board and 1 year online with peak rating 1980 and now 1498. Is that your FIDE or online? 1 year online. I'm guessing you're talking about online, but there is some ambiguity in that sentence. Tishal. Is it? Yes, after giving my needed. What does it say? Neat. Oh, neat. Yeah, neat in May. I'm planning to indulge in chess a bit. You know, bit doesn't suffice. You have to give it all if you want to reach 2300. If you give it a bit and you play for a hobby and you, let's say, do some analysis, some puzzles every day, you can reach 1600 1700 FIDE. That's possible, but 2300 would be a bit difficult. Okay, online 1980 is not bad. How did it decrease so much? Like, it was a decrease of 400 points, right? 400 500 points. What happened there? Knight on c6 is such a useless piece on the board. Hikaru should quickly move it to g6 as app. Yeah, it looks useless at in optically it looks useless, but the knight on c6 defends the a5 pawn. Notice the a5 pawn will hang. But maybe Hikaru can play b6 first. He can play b6 first and then play knight e7 knight g6. It's a possibility. The only thing is that as soon as you move your knight to e7, can I play d4? That's what you need to deal with. If white can open up the center in a good way, then black might lose some advantage. Why does the computer not like b6? I haven't played b6 there. I haven't checked. Maybe there's a better move. Well, actually, knight h5 is better than b6 right away. You can play b6 anytime, but the opportunity for knight h5 might be good in the future, might not be. So the best move here is knight h5 actually. And it's very logical because the queen has just moved from d1. So since the queen is not on d1, now after knight h5, there is no knight takes g5 tricks. If the queen was on d1, I had knight takes g5 and then queen takes h5. That's not there anymore. But b6 engine thinks white has rook d1 and he gets in d4 very quickly. Although now engine starts to believe in it. So engine actually is starting to like b6. Seems like I'm better than the engine, doesn't it? Seems like I'm better than the engine. That's a joke, guys. I'm not. That's a joke. Don't cancel me. That's a joke. Yeah, so why does the computer not like b6? I've answered that. I stopped playing for 2 months. Yeah, that loses form. What should be the plan for Vidit? He's trying to achieve d4. That's the main plan. d4. d4 or b4. He needs to get one of these two pawn breaks through. Otherwise, you are just giving black free hand to play. d4 or b4. Although I think b4 is a little bit harder to achieve now. No, wait. Queen c2, let's say b6. Which one is easier to achieve? b4 or d4? That's what we need to decide. Principally speaking, can we expect any bishop sacrifice here? Unlikely. And you know what? We can justify it using logic as well. So, if you sacrifice, then after takes, you have one attacker or two attackers max. I have one defender and the other one will come very soon. So it will be 2 versus 2, 2 attackers versus 2 defenders. And with you being a piece down, unlikely the attack will succeed. So that's just using logic, and concrete calculation is also very easy to justify. Let's say we play bishop takes here, pawn takes, queen takes, knight h2, and rook e3 comes in. And white completely defends. Nothing you can do. You simply don't have enough pieces to conduct the attack. Oh, after getting the knight on g6, it becomes more likely. For sure. Still, it would depend on how fast rook e3 comes in, but it's a possibility for sure. How about getting the knight on g6? No, I've answered that. Any trick to remember the positions like a4, c7, etc.? You know, these positions are so similar. They all look so similar and they still have their subtleties that it's so hard to, pinpoint a general rule. I play Gico piano as black, which is bishop c4, bishop c5. But I seriously don't know all the subtleties myself, because they all look so similar that you really have to put hours and hours of deep analysis, computer analysis, to get to know the subtleties. So I personally don't have any trick recommendations for you, especially since these guys are trying all the possible move orders. I don't even know what's a trick and what's objectively correct. But there are some still general principles which I'm explaining time to time, and they should work out. So like this knight h2 pattern, defensive pattern, is actually pretty standard. Knight h2 prevents knight g4 by black. Prevents knight g4. So you don't have a checkmating attack. And also I have rook e3. I'm asking A1, A2, A3, not the positions. You mean the square names? Any trick to remember the positions? Like, I'm not sure what your question means. Do you mean the? Oh, he's talking about remembering coordinates. Oh, I just gave him a whole lecture. I just gave him a whole lecture on Italian for no reason. Oh, you play enough chess, it will automatically become embedded. Automatically. But one trick I actually have used this with my students. Uh, try to try to imagine a bishop on a square and try to name all the squares it can go to. Also try to understand what color the square is. So for example, if I ask you to close your eyes and I tell you what squares can the bishop on g3 go to, and the bishop on g3, you will tell me bishop on g3 can go to these squares, and then I ask you, are these squares light or dark? So this is something that will help. You can also do this with the knight. With knight it becomes even more interesting. I say close your eyes. In your head, imagine a knight on b5. Which other squares can it go to? That will definitely help you. Definitely. But with enough experience, it also comes. With enough experience, it also becomes quite natural. It seriously does. Not joking. And this is not a lame comment, it actually does. But you can always practice putting pieces in your head, like put a piece on a3, ask where it can go. All the squares it can go to. Hope that helps. No, we haven't gone through the Nijat versus Fabi game yet. Let's have a look. Really, guys, you want me to commentate on this? Rohit, I promise you, it will definitely come with experience. I promise you. Remembering coordinates is or visualizing coordinates is not the hardest thing. Like my students who are like 9, 10 year olds were struggling with it, and even now they are fine. Even they are fine. So you'll definitely not have a problem. So you guys really want me to commentate on this? Like, what do you want me to commentate? There's nothing here. It's plain vanilla position. Maybe Fabiano has a slight edge because he has a better pawn structure. But it's just about it. Let's look at some more interesting games. We can have a look at Nepo game. Ooh, Nepo has gone for some dodgy strategy. +3 for Fabi. +3. No, it's not. It's not +3, it's +0.3. There is a huge difference. +3 is close to winning. But okay, I was about to commentate that Nepo's strategy looks a little bit dodgy to me. Or is it? Is it? Let's think about it. So, Nepo has played d4 here, closing the center, which restricts this bishop. But my question is, can I get this bishop super activated? Like along this diagonal? My first thought was to consider e5, but it probably doesn't work. Oh, Indian doesn't think it's too bad, but rook b8, f4. Indian thinks this d5 weakness is more prominent. I would agree. The knight on d5 can jump to e3. Okay, I agree. But let's think what else can we do. So what's black's threat? Let's before we look at our direction, let's look at what black wants to do. Is it clear what he wants to do? Does he want to play e5 or not? That's the first question we need to answer. Does black want to play e5 or not? Let's say I make a move like a3. e5 is probably possible, right? I mean, you restrict this bishop from ever coming out, and you argue that this bishop on b2 is misplaced, and your rook should have been on f1 to play f4. So Nepomniachtchi is definitely threatening e5. That means we can probably start with f4. We can start with f4. That prevents e5 to an extent. If you play e5, I can now bring my rook to f1, and at least my knight is coming to c4 or my knight is coming to f3. This bishop will get activated here. So I don't know if it was the best to close the center. I think white gets easy moves now. My another argument is that this bishop should have been on e6 or f7 so that black could try for b5 c4 somewhere. But with 7, your queenside attack doesn't work. Remember that in classical King's Indian, white attacks on the king side, black attacks on the queen side. So, but this opening strategy looks a little bit dubious. Also, this bishop on h3 can always get activated along this diagonal. So that's why he closed the center. Knight here, he could have actually played... I like bishop f6 more actually. I'll tell you why. If he exchanges the bishop, that is terrible because you give me dark squares. But if you, let's say, play e5, then after bishop e7, I know I've given you a move, but this bishop has become really activated and your bishop has been shut down. Still, after queen g4 or c4, maybe white is okay. But maybe bishop f6 was a little bit better, I think. But knight d7 is okay, bishop b2, d4. Yeah, d4 is where I think Firouzja has very easy moves. We will know whether d4 is an error or positionally fine. Just think makes Firouzja's job easier after f4. So pawn c3, yeah, in the future maybe. Any good opening suggestions for black? Against what? e4 or d4? Nepo is the guy who wins the candidates and loses world championship. Man remained an undisputed champion until Nepo is alive, but he decides to let it go. Yeah, I know, it's unfortunate. He just cracked under pressure, didn't he? Really unfortunate. What do you mean? Oh, e4? What's your rating again? You say you were 1600. Where is your rating? Yeah, 1600 online, right? I would say start with something solid. Well, actually, at your level, you should actually explore all the openings. Eventually, you'll probably stick with a Sicilian or e5. That's the choice for most players. They either like sharp positions with c5 or they like solid play with e5. So whichever is more natural to you, you should go for that. However, it is definitely recommended to learn e5, e4, e5 because it teaches you a lot of positional concepts. It improves your understanding of chess more than Sicilian, my belief. Once you learn e4, e5, you can transition into Sicilian if you want. But I think I would start with e4, e5. My journey was that I started with e4, e5. Then slowly I transitioned into French. I played French for, I think when I was 1300 till I think I was 1900 FIDE. I played French, lot of French. Before that I was playing e5. And after that I started playing c5, Sicilian. So you can explore these three. But I'd say start with e4, e5. Hope that answers it. Yeah, unfortunate for Nepo. I'm just curious to see why he has played d4. Seems like easy play for Firouzja. He's trying to blunt down the b2 bishop, but h7 bishop for black is also blunt down. Let's see the Hikaru game. Wait, no, that's my analysis. Ah, bishop. Yeah. I did. What is FM? Wow, that feels like a little bit of an insult. No, I'm joking. FM is FIDE master. It's one title below international master. One title below international master. Welcome to the chat, Vishal. You get FM title when you reach 2300 FIDE. I also have two IM norms. Yeah, I actually did talk about Bishop. Okay, I talked about it earlier in the stream. Maybe you were not there, but welcome to the stream, obese project Pat. Uh, Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'll check the Nepo game very soon. The idea behind Bishop A2 is to go B4 and dislodge the C6 knight and get D4. Once the C6 knight is dislodged, so let's say white gets in B4, B5, knight moves, I can probably get in D4. That's one idea. And after B4, if you take, I can potentially create a pass pawn on this side of the board. Hope that's clear. What's the hierarchy of FIDE? Well, in terms of men's title, I won't go into women's title because then it makes it a little bit more complicated. But for men's or open titles, you have candidate master, which this is the lowest title for open, I think. Yeah, candidate master. Then you have FIDE master, then you have international master, and then you have grandmaster. So you reach candidate master when you are 2200. You get candidate master title. And then NM is not a FIDE title. NM is not a FIDE title. It's done by national associations of some countries. So for example, NM is like a title for US Chess Federation. It's not a FIDE title. But if you were to compare it, NM is probably a little bit below CM. NM is a little bit below CM. Hope that answers that. Yeah, 25 ELO and I probably become an IM. Yes, I've been looking for my final norm as well. And then I can become an IM. Maybe by this summer, hopefully, fingers crossed. What about NM? Yeah, told you that already. Yeah, Bishop A2 ideas to go B4. Although I would probably play for D4. I don't know why this is going for B4. Maybe because less calculation there. I think if Vidit tries to make rook d1 d4 work, then he has to always think about takes knight b4 ideas or bishop c4 ideas. Bishop a2 is less calculation after b4, much less calculation. I think in that sense he's taking a practical decision. But there happens to be a slight problem. No, I don't have two IMs. I have two IM norms. So to gain an international master title, you need 2400 FIDE rating and you need something called IM norms. So you need three of them. I have two of them. I'll type it down for you. I have two norms, not three. Not three. So yeah, with that, let me just adjust my seat a little bit. How much does a closed norm tournament typically cost to enter? I have played, I think, only one closed tournament in my life. I think one or two. I think I've only played one, but for me it was like 200. I think No, 150 pounds, whatever that is in dollars or euros or whatever your local currency is. But higher the rating is, the less you have to pay. Higher your rating, less you have to pay. Uh, wow. Okay, you are asking real questions here. Yeah, I'm yet to go to the Alireza game. I mean, here I've explained the ideas. Like white has to get either day 4 or b4. I'll go to Nepomniachtchi's game and then I'll answer his question. Yeah, Firuza played a4, and a4 was the other engine's move. The a4 idea was to stop b5. Yeah, I'll answer all the questions in a second. So the idea of a4 was to stop b5 by black, and now white is ready to play f4. My question was, yeah, actually, maybe it's a slight subtlety. Yeah. I'll answer all the questions, guys. Thank you for so much. Wow, this is actually crazy. But I'll answer everything. Just let me explain this position first. The idea of a4 was to stop b5. And now we are ready to play f4, bring the rook to f1, knight to f3, bishop to c1. That will be the ideal piece placement. And we can start thinking about attacking here. 5 by Nepomniachtchi. I think it's a little bit dubious because your bishop is now misplaced. Your bishop should be on e6 to play a6, b5, c4. Firuza strikes with f4, very nice. Could have played knight c4 first as well, also possible. But with the idea of f4, let's say at some good situation I get f5, this bishop is dead, practically dead. Okay, now let's answer some questions. Whether f5 will be played right now or not, I don't know. It depends on some positional concepts. We can discuss that later. So, Alireza does have some advantage. That is correct. Is it true that there is a correlation between maths and chess? Wow, that's a question I don't have the answer to exactly. The way I think is that if you are good at one, you'll probably good at other as well. So I don't think maths helps you improve chess, or I don't know if maths helps you improve chess or chess helps you improve maths. But if you are good at one, you are probably good at the other one as well. That's what my thought is, although I'm not sure. I happen to be good at both. But I think I have a more talent for maths. So I don't know. And what's the norm? So norm is when you perform at a performance rating of certain threshold. So for IM norm, if you perform at a FIDE rating of 2450, so when you play some rounds, you get a performance rating. That performance rating has to exceed 2450 to get a norm. There are some other conditions as well, but this is the main one. This is the main one. uh, no. Wait. I'll answer that. So now the other question was, nice initiative of stream to share. Thank you very much. PS, your 1681 FIDE. What would be the roadmap to reach 2000 from here? Any suggestions? Okay. So, PS, you'll have to solve, the main improvement for you will come from puzzles. The main improvement for you will come from puzzles. Why? Because at your level, people are making calculation mistakes. And if you can out calculate them, this will like easily add a couple of hundred rating points. Okay. Once you have added those points, the other part comes from fixing your openings a little bit. You'll have, because everyone is analyzing with engine these days. You fix your openings in some depth, you get understanding of your positions, you analyze with engine a little bit if necessary. You see some games on your opening lines, you analyze them. With that, you establish a good understanding of your openings and middle games. You combine that with puzzles and probably some endgame knowledge. 2000 right there. Right there. That's what I did as well. Analyze openings with respect to top games. Analyze them properly in detail. solve puzzles regularly, study some endgame, easy. Provided you can do it with discipline. Provided. Now, Pawn Storm is coming against Nepo, probably yes. And if I FM is more good in math than chess, then I'm doomed. I'm not. No, I'm actually not. Let's say if we were to give my maths a FIDE rating, that sounds weird. But if you were to give my maths a FIDE rating, I'm probably around 2,100. My chess is better than my maths, but I have more talent for maths. It's just that I worked harder on chess than on maths. That's what I think. Woodpecker method is one I have heard about. I think I've also heard about forcing chess moves. I think both of them are good. Well, no book is bad per se, but have you done reassess your chess? That's the one you absolutely have to do. Reassess your chess will actually improve your understanding so much it's actually crazy. Even if you're six, I think I did reassess chess like 2 or 3 times. That book is golden. Golden. Absolutely golden. For middle game, also, this game, I'm typing a book. This will absolutely shoot you to 1800. Your middle game at least will come to 1800. I'm typing the book name. Just wait for it. I'm typing. Mastering Chess Strategy by Johan Hilston. Like anyone of you can read this book and your rating is guaranteed to go up. Guaranteed. It's a promise. But well, condition is you have to read this book properly on a physical board. You have to set the positions up. And once you do that, this game will like skyrocket your middle game. Promise. Any books or methods to improve opening? Every opening is different, right? I was doing mastering chess strategy, but after all, Silman is just brilliant. Yes, yes, yes. Silman is absolutely brilliant. Uh, Opening, it really comes down to which opening you want to do. Well, these days there are so many courses, but some of them are too advanced. Uh, let me try to recall how I studied openings. Okay, so like there was this opening once I was learning. It's called Sicilian Scheveningen. Yeah, no worries, PS. Hopefully you liked my views. There was this one opening which I was studying called Sicilian Scheveningen. Scheveningen goes like this. I'll show you. It goes like e4 c5, knight f3 d6, d4 takes, knight f6, knight c3, and e6. So I was playing this a lot, and what I did was I went to find some resource where I would have annotated games. More than theory, I wanted to understand the opening in terms of middle game ideas. Once you know the middle game ideas, you can find concrete opening moves much more easily than if you were to go the other way around. If you try to find concrete opening moves first and understand middle game ideas, that's the wrong approach. Understand middle game ideas first, then go about finding precise moves to get the move order right. So what I did was for this opening, I studied a book called Sicilian Scheveningen Move by Move by Lauren Di Costa. I am Lauren Di Costa. And that improved my understanding of this opening so much, it's actually crazy. Actually crazy. So like if someone were to play this opening like a lower rated player against me without knowing any theory, chances are like I have a much more probability of winning than them. Let's say I play with no theory, he plays with no theory, and we only have understanding, I'm more likely to win. Or even an equal rated player. So really comes down to that best step is to understand middle game ideas first and then concrete moves. Hopefully that helps. Where you understand middle game ideas, you can ask that. Fair question. You can go to ChessBase. There are many annotated games on every opening. That helps. You can go there. You can find a book which explains an opening through middle games. That's also amazing. Or if you really prefer this approach that you find games on your own, you start going for finding logic yourself or with a coach. That's also possible. That's a little bit slower, I think, but it's also very good. That's also very good. No, no worries, Candy Shop owner. Hope you like the response. But yeah, I am. I'm trying to help out as much as I can. Ask me any questions about chess improvement. I'll answer them. Meanwhile, we can see if there have been any progress. F4, Queen C7, Queen F3. Yeah, Queen F3 is nice. And Firouzja plays Queen F3. He signals that he wants to put this knight on C4. And that is actually very consistent with playing A4. With A4, Firouzja already signaled that he wanted to play knight C4. Although he kept Nepomniachtchi guessing. Nepomniachtchi didn't know whether Firouzja wanted to place the knight on F3 or C4. But with he had to spend some time, and after Queen C7, Firouzja has signaled that okay, now I'm sure I want to put the knight on C4. My problem with Nepomniachtchi's position is the bishop on H7. I don't like that bishop at all. Much harder to activate the bishop on H7 than it is to activate the bishop on B2. Much harder. That's why I think Firouzja has a slight edge for sure. And all variations which from which side you are threatening to make pawn breaks are more pleasant to play. So here, white is the one who's creating a pawn break, right, with F4. So that's something which makes your side bit more pleasant to play, because now black is the one who has to answer threats rather than white. White is playing active chess. Black is playing responsive chess. Welcome to chat, Manus. Prag or Gukesh, who's better? Margins are so thin that it's so difficult to say. I mean, you think their understanding differs by a lot? No. Do you think their calculation ability differs by a lot? No. So the margin is so thin that it's so hard to say. But I like Gukesh a little bit more. Whether he's better or not, that's a different question. We can't play bishop h3 now because it's black's turn, but maybe in the future. Nepo is defending pretty well in this tournament. His game against Pragg and Hikaru were crazy. Yes, they were, absolutely. And his position is not significantly worse. It's just that Firouzja's moves are easy, yet Firouzja's down on the clock, which is a little bit suspicious. Firouzja's moves actually flow quite well. Like knight c4, rook f1, bishop h3, easy moves. It's Nepomniachtchi's moves which are difficult because he has to see how to organize his pieces. Any tips for time management during tournament game? I struggle with time management as well because I love to take my time to find the best move. But so what I was doing was once 10 missed calls from Kramnik to Alireza. No, there are definitely tips for time management, although sometimes even I am down on time. Sometimes I finish my games quite quickly, so it depends. But one thing you can definitely do is if you're solving an exercise, time yourself. Let me give you an interesting perspective. In a game, let's say an average game lasts 40 moves, right? Those 40 moves are essentially 40 positions which you're solving, aren't they? If an average game is 40 moves and you're playing the game, you're essentially solving 40 chess positions, aren't you, in one game? Now, let's say you are practicing positions outside a game. That means you are solving puzzles or you're analyzing games, and you're timing yourself with each exercise. And with that, you're improving your accuracy. That will improve your time management. That will improve your time management for sure. I What I did once was I timed myself with 3 minutes for every position. But of course, if a position is too difficult and you know that beforehand, you can give yourself more time. But timing yourself for like 3 4 minutes is ideal. Ideal. One reason why I slowed down was because I'm focusing much more on academics since I'm in university. So my form has gone down a little bit, although my rating has still is still stable. But due to being slightly out of form, I was taking more time. When I was in shape, I was playing very well, very quickly and well. And that was because I was timing the exercises. So that's a good advice, I would say. It worked for me, it will work for you. This one will definitely do. What you believe is Gukesh is more aggressive while Prag is more solid. Gukesh surprises me the most in this candidate. Yeah, Gukesh, you know why? Because Gukesh is more of a calculation player. Gukesh calculates a lot. Do you have a coaching center, by the way? I coach online. I don't have a physical center, but I coach online. Or well, if you live close to me, I can coach you in person as well. But if you are looking for like a physical academy, I don't have that yet. No. In the future, maybe. Yeah, Gukesh. Praggnanandhaa is actually phenomenal at calculation as well. So is Gukesh. But I was told by an Indian grandmaster that Gukesh purely plays on calculation. Like he does apply positional understanding as well. But the balance between logic and calculation is much favorable in calculation's favor for Gukesh. Of course, he applies positional understanding as well, guys. Come on. Without that, he won't be 2700. Praggnanandhaa is also calculation, but little bit less than Gukesh. So he has a little bit more of a balance than Gukesh. I'll be coming to I don't live close to Birmingham. Birmingham is very far. You're coming in. Oh, I see. I see. What are you coming to Birmingham for? University or something? Or like a summer school or something? Or just to visit family? You don't have to answer, of course. But wait, I forgot what I was talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about the different styles of these players. So, like, I was talking with a grandmaster who knows these guys very well. He told me that Nihal Sarin, is purely positional. When I say purely positional, I don't mean he doesn't calculate. It's just like he has a high favor towards positional than calculation. So, Gukesh, purely calculation. Nihal, purely positional. Praggnanandhaa, balance in calculation and positional, but favorable towards calculation. Arjun is an interesting one. Arjun is an interesting one. I don't understand Arjun. I have played against Arjun and I didn't understand his moves. He beat me and I was close to a draw, but I didn't understand the kind of moves he was making. Arjun is a tricky one. I don't understand his style. And who else is there? Which other top junior is there? Uh, Guys, am I missing someone from the list? I've mentioned Arjun, Nihal, Gukesh, Prag. Am I missing someone? I am from Delhi originally. Yes, I now live in London. I moved to London in 2019. And oh, your sister is writing a play. Oh, that's nice. So we'll go together as a family, I guess. Oh, that's very nice to hear. Good luck. Good luck for that. You saw my name in a tournament in Ghaziabad around 2017. I did play in Ghaziabad. I think I was around 1100. No, in 2017 I was around 1300, 1500. Yeah, Ronak is one. Ronak is very, very tactical. Ronak is tactics. Not that much positional, very tactical. I played him in Blitz actually once and I was actually beating him. But yeah, it's Blitz, you make mistakes, I lost. But I was very close to winning. Against Nihal, I was close to a draw. Against Arjun, I was close to a draw. but I lost all of them. Adiman is not a junior, come on. Adiman is not close to a draw. Why is Alireza taking so much time? His moves are flowing into each other. Like Nepomniachtchi has literally placed b6 to go a6 b5. The moves are actually flowing for Alireza. Knight c4 is coming. Knight c4. Yeah, buddy, Pranav Anand, isn't he? I played Pranav Anand as well. I played him actually like few years ago, so I wasn't that strong back then. But yeah, he's a good player as well. He's good at calculation for sure. Good at calculation for sure. Well, it was a game in King's Indian, so I could only assess his calculation rather than positional. But he's good at calculation for sure, for sure. So, oh, also there is, guys, Aditya Mittal. He's a rising prodigy, 2600. You know him? Any chance? Aditya Mittal, Grandmaster Aditya Mittal, 2600, I think, recently, or very close to it. Really strong as well. Really, really strong. He actually crushed me every time I played against him. Very strong guy. Yeah, with that, I mean, yeah, I don't know why. Like, he could play knight c4 straight away. I don't know what he's thinking about. Or actually, someone suggested bishop h3 in the chat. Who was it? Bishop h3 is perfectly playable. Improve your bishop. You don't know whether you want to push f5 or not, but you can maintain the tension, keep Nepomniachtchi guessing, and play bishop h3. Bishop h3 is the move, I think, here. I love bishop h3, yeah. Yeah, he's from Maharashtra, yeah, very strong guy, very strong. I don't know exact state, but yeah, he's from Maharashtra for sure. And he improved very quickly in a very short span as well. But he's fully dedicated to chess, fully dedicated. The other juniors are, of course, but he's as well. Yeah, I mean, which other game, guys, do you want me to commentate at? Let's look at something else where interesting stuff is going on. Where else can I have a look? VD. Okay, so we left the position at bishop a2, right? Sorry, I didn't answer this. Apologies. Will I be streaming every day? Not every day, but I think 2 to 3 times a week. I would say. I would say. Depends on the interest. If I get a lot of interest, I might stream more. Because I've got some university exams I'm preparing for. I'll try to do as much as I can. I'll be uploading videos as well. Definitely. I'll definitely switch to Gukesh game, but someone requested for this one first, so I'll go through it. Bishop a2, actually, Nakamura had this idea with g4 now. Since the queen does not stand on g1, this idea was playable. Or knight h5 was playable as well, as we discussed. g4, let's say takes, bishop takes g4. This knight is in some sort of danger because now knight e3, black just takes, and white's king becomes weak. So this could have actually put some pressure on white to find the best moves. Oh, thank you very much, Ram. Really pleased to hear that. Really pleased to hear that. This is really cheering me up. So much engagement in the chat today. Now, so this was Nakamura's opportunity, but I think Nakamura's not trying to take big risks. He played knight. Oh, he did play knight h5. Yeah, this is playable. Okay, he played the other best move. I thought he was going to play g4, but knight h5 is completely fine as well. Completely fine. Knight e3, bishop takes, rook takes, knight e7. Yeah, knight e7. The problem with knight e7 is that white now gets b4 very nicely. And I'll tell you what Nakamura's psychology was. Nakamura did not like knight f5 directly. So he wanted to cover that square with knight e7. What he could have done, and the problem with knight e7, which I just told you, is that b4 weakens a5 a little bit. The other thing is that if you were to start with knight f4, then after knight f5, you could probably play knight e7 now. So Nakamura could have waited for knight f5 and then played knight e7. Because now he gets to exchange white's strong knight and place his knight on f4. So Nakamura had the right spirit, he just got the move order slightly inaccurate, slightly. And now Vidit has to find the best move with b4. No, I would definitely prefer, so here where we are. Here, knight e7. This is with its chance to play b4. And it logically makes sense because the knight is dislodged from c6. Is it good to take on a knight f4 by bishop? Generally not. We can look uncritically. Generally not, because bishop in an open position is more important, and the bishop on d2 helps with b4. So generally not. I can look uncritically. Let's say takes. Let's say knight f4, knight f5, knight e7. So you mean knight e7 and bishop takes f4. Here it's actually possible. Generally it isn't, but here it's not too bad. And the reason it's possible here is that after e takes f4, knight takes e7, queen takes e7, this bishop is slightly blunted by the c3 pawn. And if you get in d4, it's a little bit more blunted. The disadvantage is that with your knight, it doesn't have a good square to go to. So I would say it's around balanced. It's about balanced. But generally speaking, you don't trade because bishop can be more useful. And the knight on f4 looks scary, but it isn't. It looks scary, but it isn't. Can white can yeah. It's not scary because now white has got knight f5 as well. Yes. Can white play d4 after knight e7? Let's see. d4. Let's try to calculate. d4. It looks a little bit strange, no? Because black can take and probably take here. Looks a little bit awkward. Maybe possible. Let's explore. Takes. No, it doesn't quite work. Black has got this. I'm thinking. You could play queen c6, threatening knight takes h3. That's one idea. Or you could. You could play knight d5 as well, no? Knight d5 or queen c6. And I question what this pawn is doing there. And I feel like this bishop is starting to get a bit more activated. And this rook does not belong on a2. So d4 is a little bit inconsistent with knight f5 and the rook on e2. Little bit inconsistent, I would say. Maybe if you took on f4 first, then d4 can become more plausible, I would say. More plausible then. Guys, do you think the commentary is instructive enough? Because, I try to balance questions with instruction, trying to help you improve your chess as well as improving mine by analyzing here. But if there is anything I'm not making very clear, just let me know. Oh, it's perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Another question is, what do you think about this? Yeah. My question was, what do you think about the layout? And skip some few irrelevant stuff and straight to chess. Okay, okay, I'll try. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Right. Yes. Yeah, sure. Which other game shall we look at? This one is yet to be something. Oh, Vidit has played D4, I think. Ah, D4 instead of B4. He opted for this break. You know what Black has here? Black has a really instructive move. Layout is fine, but it'd be good if I can put the pairings as images. Huh. Yeah, I can try that. I can I would put the live board bottom right of screen. That way it shows moves in real time while you teach. Otherwise, perfect. Yeah, I can try that actually. So you mean instead of this image with all the candidates, I put a live board. That's what you mean, right? Lady section, what's happening there? I'll have a look very soon there. Okay, I can try to make that work. It's just I'm very new to streaming and OBS, so I'm not very advanced with the fundamentals. Even preparing this layout took me quite some time, but I'll definitely I know your input and now I'll work on it. Okay, let's go to the ladies section. So this will look a little bit weird for a moment, but then we can get there. Uh, Oh, this position looks sharp, doesn't it? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's really nice to hear. Okay. Who asked for the ladies section? Isomaniac. Isomaniac, you like this sharp position or not? This is about as sharp as we can get in today's match. Almost all the games were boring in men's section, weren't they? Any sharp game. Firuja's one was not sharp. Fabiano was dead boring. Gukesh, I don't remember, but Hikaru Nakamura with it could have become sharp. It did not. Yeah, Prag's game could have become sharp, but he did not play G5, remember? Yes, so this we can analyze what's going on here. Time situation is actually pretty balanced, and barely any moves have been played. We are on move number 15. Imagine. Probably going to get a bullet game here, aren't we? But okay, let me ask your opinion. Oh well, you can see the evaluation bar. I was about to ask who do you think is better. But let's try to test your reasoning. Why do you think white is better? Well, of course, evaluation bar shows you white has some advantage. Why? Try to give me some reasoning. Let's see. What is it that makes white a little bit better, or more than a little bit better in this position than black? You are giving me concrete moves, and Rook D1 is definitely one of them, for sure. But logically speaking, let's just consider logic first. Piece development and more space as well, that is absolutely correct. But yeah, the other thing is it will be quicker for white to castle long than it will be for black. So white's king will be more safer in the future. That's a major point as well. Also, white's queen stands on e2, which is directly in front of black's king. Black's queen stands on d6, which will be directly in front of white's rook when it comes to d1. So white has the initiative. Initiative means ability to create threats. Silman book, by the way. Oh, he can't castle. He can't castle right now. But in the future, this queen will move from d6. It will not stand there for long. Of course, it can't castle right away. White will control the d file, not yet, but he will, yes. But let's also notice that black's rooks, not rook, sorry, the black's bishop on c8. Yes, yes, yes. Knight can go to d2 in some position and we can long castle. It's a possibility. Yes, indeed. Also, black's bishop is not doing very well. The c8 one. So that's one more point. And also the g5 pawn makes a difference as well. You never know when g6 might be dangerous. So black has to take into account much more threats than white. Although white is the one who's taking more time, black should be the one who should be doing that. Maybe white is just looking for the best option to play. And let's think about what do you think are the possible moves here, except rook d1. Rook d1 looks very natural, I understand. What other moves you think are possible? There are a few moves we definitely have to consider. Bishop on c8 and rook on 8 are doing nothing right now. Yes, we could argue our rook on a1 is not doing anything as well. Our rook on g1 is doing something, yeah. g6 is definitely a move you should consider. It weakens black's king. Definitely. What would you have to consider when you play g6? What would you have to consider when you play g6? What do you mean f3? Oh, you mean f6, I think. No, not f6. Not f6 because, well, you don't play f6 because of the one reason is Ben Feingold said so. Ben Feingold says never say play f6. That's one reason. The other reason is what? What else can come to the f6 square? Great question, isn't it? Yes. So whether you play g6 or not is conditional to whether the bishop on f6 will be strong or will it weaken black's king. So it's conditional to that. If you now calculate g6 correctly and you realize that the bishop on f6 is not strong, or at least, or it can't even come to f6, then you should definitely play g6, else you should not. Other move you have to consider is f5 by black. g6, f5, black can try to play f4. Is that good or not? You'll have to figure that out. Now white has played this very conservatively with bishop d2, which happens to be a mistake. She's preparing long castle, but I think she probably allows knight f4, I think. Uh, oh wow, PS, you were talking about it and it was played. Happens to be a little bit slower. Uh, I think knight f4 is a slight problem, isn't it? I can put the one knight to f4 and the other knight to e6. I think that's a much better placement than c5 e6. Knight f4 and the other knight can go to e6. That's a much better piece placement. Right now, so as I was explaining, if you calculate g6 correctly, well, if you evaluate g6 correctly, not calculate, bit calculation as well, but you evaluate that the bishop on f6 will not be dangerous or it will not come there at all, and you calculate that f5 by black doesn't work properly, g6 by all means. Yeah, for sure it was. f4, f5 was on the cards. Now let me explain. Let's say you are not able to figure out during the game whether g6 is correct or not. How would you approach the position? Then, of course, you have to look for an alternative plan, and we can start by looking at what's black threat is. Well, what is black's threat? He wants to play knight f4. He wants to play knight f4. Right? So if you're unable to understand whether you should play g6 or not, let's start to understand what black's threat is. It's knight f4. You can ask yourself, can you stop it by playing rook g4? Is this move playable? If this move is playable, then perhaps it makes sense to play it and then play knight d2, knight c4 idea, and long castle with that. This is another way to approach the position. It happens to be the case that with concrete calculation and evaluation, g6 is the best. Now, I would not be able to evaluate g6 very quickly because I have to calculate f5 and bishop f6. But engine tells me it's good. However, I'm not interested in what exactly the best move is. I'm more interested in the process. Now, was rook d1 the best move? Not exactly, because you want to keep the flexibility of castling open. Yes, exactly. Correct, candy shop owner. You can play rook d1 when you have some tactic available to you. If bishop d7 from black and rook d1, can you please show us that line? So let's say we play bishop d7 here. D1, it becomes much better now. You'll see why. Queen c7, b4, b4. This is why I said one knight should have been on f4 and the other one on e6. But since this knight stands on e6, the other one can't come there. Knight a6. Look what happens. I play a3. Two of your pieces are completely useless. Actually, four of your pieces are completely useless. Completely dominated by white's pieces. And even though I'm not castled, you can't castle as well, because if you long castle, bishop takes a7. Bishop takes a7 comes in. So this would be a huge mistake. Oh, actually, bishop takes a7 is not possible right now, is it? It's not. It's not. The other move is rook c4. You're threatening knight b5, knight d5, and this king is in danger. So even though my king is in the center, your king comes in danger. b6. b6, if I play knight d5. Knight d5, right? Yeah, knight d5 wins, I think. It happens to be the case that at first it might look like, well, Tanmay, why are you losing your castling, right? The concrete point is I'm misplacing your knight and I'm proving these tactics like rook g4, rook c4. That's the point. So that's why I didn't want to start with rook d1. A general tip is, if you don't know whether you should include it or not, or if it is really complicated, you should maintain the flexibility to keep your opponent guessing. Generally. But rook g4, bishop d7, another key point is that bishop on d7 takes away the d7 square from this knight. So b4 comes in very strongly, completely misplacing this knight on a6. You might ask, let's say after b4, rook d1, why can't we go queen? Well, actually, there's no better square than c7, is there? Queen c7, a3. Why does black have to long castle? Black could play something else, right? My question to you would be, yeah, they sort of are, yeah. My question to you would be, if you don't play long castle, do you see another plan for black? I was considering knight d4 as well. It's just, I think the knight on e6 is blocking the d7 bishop from coming in. So I'll have to be very careful with knight d4. I'll play it only if it achieves special. But my first question here is, if not long castle, what can black do? Does he have a plan? Right now, rook h5. Okay, so you want to attack g5, reasonable. What do you think white will do? White can easily add an attacker. Or might as well not care about the pawn. Might play rook c4 straight away as well. Because look, tactics happen when you put your pieces on unprotected squares. If you, let's say, play rook h5, probably play rook c4, and you don't even have taking here, because when I take with the knight, the rook on h5 hangs. So if you want to avoid, let's say, blundering pieces ever, you want to keep your pieces supported. Once I take back with the knight, the rook on h5 is just hanging, isn't it? But rook c4 with the idea knight b5 or knight d5 still is very strong. And that's why I told you I would only play rook d1 if it is concretically. What's the concretical thing here? The rook c4 idea. This was not available when the rook was not on g4. Bishop d6 right now doesn't work. Think why. Think why. Bishop d6 right now is a blunder. Why? How about king f8? King f8 before rook h5 or after rook h5? Before or after? That's what we need to figure out. Did you figure it out, PS, why bishop d6 is wrong here? Think about knight moves for white. Not knight e4, but knight b5. Knight b5. If you play bishop d6, I play knight b5. You can't take, your queen hangs. So bishop d6, knight b5. You take, your queen hangs. And if you move the queen, then your bishop hangs. Is that clear? Hopefully. Okay, let's explore that. It's probably a better h5. Okay. Let's think. King f8. King f8 makes d7 bishop a little bit loose because now the d7 bishop is only protected by the queen. Can I do something about it? Oh, in some other position. I'll have a look very soon. Oh, you mean before king f8? I think you meant before king f8, didn't you? Yeah, you probably did. So I'll have a look at that as well. Let's explore king f8 for a second. King f8. Yeah, sure, I understood your point. Yes, we can go to Vaishali's game after this, yeah. So king f8. Your king stands on f8. That makes me think g6 is more likely to work. Would you not agree? Do you not think that once your king stands on the f file, then g6 is more likely to work? Rook e8 looks scary to you probably because your rook and my queen stand on the same file, but you need to get rid of 2 pieces, 3 pieces before you can make something work there. So rook e8, it's far from working right now. But let's say f5 is the only move. Then I can play rook c4 again. I am much faster with my knight c5, knight b5 threats. So this actually works out very well for me. You might think f4 is possible. It's not. I have knight d5. Or actually, this is playable, but even better is knight b5. And queen goes to b8, defending the pawn, and now rook d7. Remember when I talked about this king having lost protection over the d7 bishop? So let's explore the other idea which I was told. What was it? Bishop d6. Yeah, let's consider this one. Bishop d6, you are weakening your king just in front of my queen. So I can ask myself 2 questions. I can either play g6 and weaken this king straight away, or I can start with rook c4. Which one do you think is better? Start with rook c4 or g6? I think both are playable. But this rook c4 idea is so beautiful, I'm so tempted to play it. Looks so tempting, doesn't it? Threatening knight b5 and knight d5. Very tempting. And the question to you is, how do you deal with both? If you play queen b8, moving your queen, these bishops are actually tactical motivations. Tactical motivations are things which can come under tactics. I can play a move like queen d2, and now guess what? You lose one of them. You might argue king e7 is there, but knight e4. Bishop moves, this bishop hangs. Is that clear? Is that clear? All happens because look at knight on a6 and knight on e6. They do absolutely nothing. The knight on a6 and the knight on e6. Oh, b5 right now? It's just a one move. No, it's just one move. I just play rook c3. Just one move, nothing more. Maybe you thought the rook was getting trapped. It's not. B5 before. Let's see. Oh, so now you're trying to stop rook c4. So you're trying to stop. So prophylactic move. Okay, reasonable, reasonable, reasonable. Now I have to think about different things. I can't play rook c4 now. That's for sure. Hmm. Where else can I attack? Where else can I attack? There are so many options. I'm actually spoiled for choice here. Um, this is hard to say. The move which is most intuitive to me is to play rook e. Put the rook and the queen on the same file. That is what's most intuitive to me. Now knight d4, we can explore. It's possible. Engine doesn't think it's bad. You can go knight f5. It's possible. The thing is, you allow queen e5 in some variations. So let's like king f8, knight f. Oh, you have g6 here, by the way. But okay. Let's say queen e5, for example. What happens? Rook e4. Okay, you don't allow actually queen e5. Yeah. This idea is possible. No, bishop f4 would trade the queens. You don't want to trade the queens. That's the last thing you want to do in this position for white. White is attacking. You want to keep the queens. But yeah, knight d4 is possible. Rook e4 is also possible. You could also probably play bishop g2. And you could put pressure along this diagonal. Playing bishop on g2 makes long castling very dangerous, doesn't it? I would not long castle with a bishop on g2 staring at my soul. I don't think I would long castle. And with that knight on a6, I'm not long castling. Nope. Yeah, okay. Now someone said Vishali's game, right? Why shall he seems to be a little worse. See what I did there? See what I did there? Seems to be a little bit worse. Lots of weaknesses in her camp. The d4 pawn, the b4 square, the knight on g5. She's on the defense. She's on the defense. Yeah, no, it's a bad position. She's very much on the defense, and black's coordination is much more better than white's pieces. Like g5, knight is weak, d4 is weak. These rooks are not. This is not doing anything. Knight b4, and now she actually blundered with c5. So we got some spicy chess going on here. c5 is a blunder. Figure out why, guys. Figure out why. Why is it a blunder? Well, a mistake, at least a big mistake. Yeah, Tan Zhongyi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but Tan Zhongyi is in good form. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Isomaniac. What do you think the best move is here? You are very active with the chess side on the stream, so really hoping for some variations from you. Queen c7. Well, she played the best move. And sometimes simple is best, which is in this case. Now, Vaishali cannot play knight e6. Why not? Simple calculation. What happens if Vaishali plays knight e6? Check. She's dead lost here, by the way. But give me the knight e6. So it's only one variation. Simple enough. Yeah, bishop e6, rook takes e6, knight takes d4. Indeed. And then the queen and the rook are forked. Indeed, yeah. You just capture, then you capture on d4 and you win on the spot. So essentially, the knight on g5 can't go anywhere. Queen on d3 doesn't threaten anything. The knight on e7 guards g6. So you just lose the knight. Doesn't threaten anything. When you're making a move, you want to see if you're doing something, you are threatening something or not. She is down on time, she is down on position, and well. No, there is knight before, but I'm simply grabbing the g5 knight, right? I'm up a piece after that. Queen d3, f takes g5. The knight hangs. And you don't have any checkmate. Yeah, let's have a look at Alireza game. Yeah, why not? Yeah, Alireza's not losing this one. No, not a chance. Look at Black's bishop on h7. You remember, guys, I was constantly talking about this bishop being so terrible on h7. Let's have a look at how we got here. We had knight c4, bishop. So we had bishop h3, best move. Rook e8, knight c4, bishop d6. Eventually, Black cracked. Now, why did Black crack? Because Black did not have a reasonable plan to continue. He was just reacting to White's moves. Eventually, he did not know what to do and he cracked with bishop d6. Alireza played bishop c1. Let me explain why bishop d6 is a bad move. The reason bishop d6 is a bad move is because fe5, whenever it comes, will come with a tempo. And this queen always has to guard this bishop now. That's the two main reasons. And also, one more reason, if I ever try to play f5, f6, this bishop has to stand on e7. So bishop d6 essentially does nothing. Queen c6 takes here. Wasn't necessary actually. Wow, I'm surprised Firuza missed a very simple. I look like Alireza. I don't think so. Uh, I'll take it as a compliment, but I don't think I do. Do I, guys? Is that what you're telling me? What do others think? While you answer that, Alireza had a fantastic move which he missed here. Absolutely brilliant positional move. Slightly, slightly. I don't wear glasses. Alireza wears glasses. Uh, what do you think White missed here? A brilliant positional concept. So very surprised Alireza didn't play this. Very surprised. Yeah, bishop d7. Fascinating positional concept. Because when you want to play 5, now you don't have a bad bishop here. Now you don't have a bad bishop here. Actually, it transposes. It transposes. Alireza first took on d6. and then took on d7. So I was just overreacting for no reason. He just transposed the move orders. And yeah, now black is left with a sad bishop on h7. So f6, h g4, king f7, h4. Now, well. This is not looking great for Nakamura. Not Nakamura, sorry, Nepomniachtchi. G5 will come. G5 will come at some point. Yeah. I mean, Nepomniachtchi is actually using the right strategy. He's trying to king towards the queen side because it will be safer there. What Nepomniachtchi is saying is that, well, once this king reaches here, it's all good. So Firouzja has to make the decision. Well, actually, it's Nepomniachtchi's move. Most likely, he'll play king e6. And now Firouzja has to make a decision. Does he open up with a5 or does he open up with g5? What do you think? Open up with a5 or open up with g5? Oh, instead of pawn g4, why not queen g4? Let's see. Because queen g4, you only threaten bishop h6 for one move. And after I play king h8, or king f7 actually, why not? Let's say I play king f7. What does queen g4 actually do? Am I missing something? Your only threat was bishop takes h6 and now I stopped it. And now I really wish my pawn was on g4. Now I really wish my pawn was on g4. I agree with a5. I think if Nepomniachtchi plays king e7, which is here h4, my thought is I can play g5 anytime I want, but I don't know if I will be able to play a5 successfully anytime or not. Since black might play a6, and if I play a5, he might play b5. And if I play bishop e3, he might play b4. But yeah, it's just not easy. Because a6, a5, b5, I can maybe sack with b4 as well, if he takes bishop d2. But since I would love to avoid any complications, like keep my things simple, I would probably go with a5 first. Probably. g5 requires much more precise calculation. Can we sack bishop to break open the center somewhere? You know, whenever you ask about sacrifices, ask yourself, are your pieces ready? Are the rooks on a1 and e1 ready? Yet. Not yet, right? If in the future they are ready, then of course. But right now, sacrifice cannot work if your remaining pieces are not working. Yeah, it won't work right away, no. Your pieces need to be a bit more active, especially the rooks, white's rooks. The engagement is crazy today. If rook d1, was there a bishop sack can work? Where would you even sacrifice? How do you even sacrifice here? How do you sack your bishop? Come on, tell me. Where do you sack it? I mean, it's such a solid pawn chain. Okay, bishop a3, then let's say I play a5 after bishop a3. But then that's not a bishop sack, that's a pawn sack. And it would be dangerous actually. Let me show you. So bishop a3, play a5, you play b4. This is actually a bit dangerous because I capture with the c pawn and now my rooks get a lot of activity all of a sudden. Yeah, a5 is the move. That's why I was thinking about playing a5 myself. That's why I was thinking about playing a5 myself. Yeah. A5 and then bishop d2 probably, yeah. But it's yet to be seen. Okay, next game. Next game. Which one, guys? Quick, quick, quick. Come on. Which one? Which one? Let me check the valuation. Oh, this one has opened up. This one has opened up. Black can certainly go for g3 for counterplay. Which game and what position? Because I don't see any g3 by black here. Which game and what position? But this is becoming sharper. Oh, Nepo game. Let me quickly have a look. Oh, hi Weber. Welcome to the stream. Really happy to see you here. G6. It weakens H6, so I would be slightly careful. He can go G6 at the right moment, but right now it seems a little bit dangerous. Because I can take on H6 with my bishop and then I can play G5 as white. And your king stands on F7, which looks dangerous. I would not advocate G6 just yet. Not just yet. In the future, maybe. In the future, maybe. Yeah, let's go back to the Vidit's game. Now, this is becoming sharper, and I have no idea what's going on here. I would not even trust the engine because it's so complicated. King f2, rook g1, g5. Yes, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. Yeah, timing g5 is always difficult. You never know when it's right or not. It's a timing pawn breaks is an art. Some people are good at it, some aren't. It's an art. Tell me a bit about rook a3. How did we get here? Yeah. Well, you only have two options for this rook, right? You will either go back and put it on c1 this way, or you play a3 and put it on c3 this way, or b3 or d3. Once once I once I put that you can go rook c1 or you can put the rook on b3, c3 or d3, it sort of becomes obvious which one is better. Has Also, there's a deeper idea as well. The deeper idea is that let's say in some situation we get h4 in nicely and black takes, we take, this rook can somehow slide in some variation. It's a little bit odd, but it's not unrealistic. It's possible. It's possible. The rook on a1 is a little bit is less active than the rook on a3. That's as simple as the logic goes. Now, a good question that we can ask ourselves is, what are the plans for both sides? Now, Hikaru would like an ideal piece position. Let me ask you a question. Where do you think black wants to place this knight? The h5 knight. Where should it go? Let me ask you that. What's the ideal square for this knight? F4 is the most natural answer, but it's not the right answer. And I'll tell you why. The best square for this knight is e6. It blocks this pawn forever and it tries to play c5, and the knight puts pressure here and here. The question which arises is, why is it not knight f4? If you ever put your knight on f4, I can always play knight g4 and my bishop is always ready to target this knight. And my knight on g4 is ready to target f6 and h6. So it would seem f4 is the best square, but f4 maybe is short-term best square, if that's a thing. F4 maybe is a short-term best square, but long-term best square is the, e6. Exactly. Right. If I asked you what the best square for this knight is, maybe then this one is possible. Although you allow knight f5, so this knight stands perfectly. Actually, stops knight f5. Put this knight on e6, play c5. That's a standard plan for. Yeah, knight on f4 always looks dangerous, but so many times it doesn't do anything. So many times it's not doing at all anything at all. So it's better not to be scared of ghosts, but rather, sometimes calculate. So that's what my 2 cents are on this position. But let's see how the game progressed. A3, c5. Oh, with it took and gave away all his advantage with taking. Logically speaking, why do you think taking was a little bit wrong? Logically speaking. Why was c5 not the best move? Sorry, why was taking on? Yeah, you lose center control. Exactly. To be more precise, the e5 pawn becomes weaker and this bishop gets activated. That's the thing. Also, when this happened, uh, yeah, you always have to worry about d4 ideas as well in some positions. Yeah, weakness in e5 and d4 is also possible in some positions. Hikaru should have just ignored this pawn and played knight f4. And Hikaru argues that you can't do much with that pawn, it will fall anyways. My guess is that Vidit did not pay serious attention to knight f4. He was only looking at bc5 and rook c5. That's what my thought is. Yeah, he did. He did. He did. You're right, PS. He has to play knight f4 here. And rook c5 is bad for black is because queen b3, knight f4. Now queen takes b6. And the pawn falls, the rook is attacked, the pawn is attacked. But if you start with knight f4 and then you play queen b3, I can now take with this pawn. And now b6 doesn't have hang. Do you guys see the difference between knight f4 and rook c5? I'll explain why he took with the rook and not with the pawn. But do you understand this difference first? The b6 pawn doesn't hang if you play knight f4 first. The next question is why? Why not take here? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Actually, it's not that simple. I was first going to say that this pawn hangs, but then there might be some compensation. Believe it or not, the only good move for white is knight g4. Believe it or not. And white claims that you never have knight f4 and a5 pawn is weak. That's the argument. That's the argument. And once the knight moves from e3, d4 becomes less threatening. So actually, you guys might ask what happens after knight c6. Oh, guess what happens here. Well, you called it. You called it. PS Bishop g5. The knight moves from defending the king, and now we have one, two, three, four attackers. The rook might join in five, and he only has two defenders. So the attacker to defender ratio is in our favor. Takes f5, e6. Queen takes f5. Which game from the candidates does this remind you of? We had this e6 move in one other game. Which other game from the candidates does this remind you of? Only one, I think, was played like this. With so much attack on like this. Very impressed. I'll be very impressed if someone can point this out. I'll give it a hint. It was in one of the earlier rounds. One of the earlier rounds. We had this sort of attack in a position. Come on, I'm waiting for an answer. Not Vidit versus Prag. Gukesh Prag. Candy Shop is right. Gukesh Prag was like this. Prag Gukesh actually. Prag was white, I think. Prag was white, yeah. Firouzja versus Prag? I don't think so. Was it? No, you all of you got it right that it was a Prag game. It was Gukesh's game. Like Prag versus Gukesh. I don't know if it actually happened in Vidit Prag and Firouzja Prag, but definitely the attack resembles very closely to what happened in Prag Gukesh. And this works out very well. And imagine we get a rook left from a3. That would be awesome. Somewhere. Although I think we get to Black's King before that. Yes, he did. He mixed up some things he said in the post commentary, like post game analysis. Yep. But this will work out very well. Really sharp position. So knight g4 intending bg5 is the best idea. You could try queen f5 trying to exchange queens, but just as soon as that happens, the a5 becomes really weak. I could take directly, yeah. So the pawn hangs. Yeah. I just realized the text above says round 7 when it's round 9. Let me see if I can change it. No one told me. None of you told me that it said round 7 instead of round 9. I forgot to change it in the overlay. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Yes, you're sort of right. With it did play 6bg5. Uh, yeah, so I would agree it does resemble Vidit Prag as well, but if you compare Gukesh Prag and Vidit Prag, it resembles more with Gukesh Prag. What was Firouzja Prag like? Am I missing something? I don't remember Firouzja Prag. They drew, didn't they? Firouzja and Prag. Yeah, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Focusing too much on analysis, didn't see the layout. I don't actually remember Firouzja Prag, but I'll have a look later on. Maybe you are right. Maybe it resembles more closely. It's just I don't remember the game. But Gukesh Prag definitely does. Okay, let's see if there has been an update. Oh, okay, okay, guys. Going on here. Instead of queen d b3, we had queen d1, knight f4, b4, best move, takes. Nakamura is sacrificing a pawn for activity. This will become sharp. Nakamura's out for blood. Nakamura's out for blood. ba5, bishop a5. Okay, chess.com is misbehaving again. They need to fix this bug. Let me refresh. Uh, the trick is to go to a different game and then come back. Bishop takes a5, as I was saying. Knight c6. Where to put the bishop? Is there a better move? I thought knight c6 is natural. Or does he want to play knight e6? I don't know where he wants to put the knight. Both of them attack e5. Yeah, where to put the knight actually? It's not an easy question to answer. Even I don't know. Knight on g6 keeps the file open, but the knight probably allows d4 in a better circumstance. So both of them have their pros and cons. I think then you determine this by calculation. Yeah, this is probably more by calculation than intuition. I think so. My intuition says knight c6, but I might be wrong. Yeah, g3 is a possibility. I mean, I'm looking at g3 kind of moves. If you take with the knight, then I play king g2 and I claim this knight is stuck. It's possible in some lines. I've seen it happening before in some games. No, knight takes h3, king g2. It won't be trapped. It will still be complicated, but it will become sharper. Black will always have g4. That's what I'm saying. Like knight takes h3 will come. Like wait, f4 knight would be trapped after g3. No, the knight has e6, knight has g6, knight has h5. How is it becoming trapped? Yeah, let's try knight c6. Let's try to make it work. c3. White stops d4. What to do now? Let's try this. What to do now? Do you want to take on e5? Taking on e5 removes, if you exchange a lot, like 2 or 3 times on e5, black's king becomes weaker. So do you want to do that or no? What will happen is that you will have a weaker king and white has an outside pass pawn. And as you we move closer to the endgame, in which case outside pass pawns are better. Yeah, AJ Styles, you are right. Yes. Eh, this is right. I just explained the pros and cons of taking on e5. You gain back material, but your long-term factors are weak. Long-term factors including outside pass pawn for white, weakened king for black. If you can concretically make it work, so g3 you have to consider knight takes h3, don't you? If you can make it work precisely, then of course. Does it work? We can have a look. But firstly, it's black's move. So let's say black plays king f8. If we make a pass, g3, knight takes h3, king g2, g4 is not actually that much in favor for us. Or is it? I think practically it's very complicated, but Injun is thinking. I think practically it's complicated. Although more complicated for black than for white. because white can just play knight d4 or knight h4, and the knight on h3 sort of dubious, sort of sketchy. So I don't even know if you will win d5 pawn. You'll have other things like a knight landing on f5. Hard to assess. Yeah, it does nothing except defending d5. Let me ask you this trivia question, not trivia, but in these sort of complicated positions that we are seeing right now, which of the candidates players are the best? Well, Nakamura is good, of course, but who's known for going into complications and showing their best chess? Like this guy who's in the candidates strives for complications every single game. No, not Alireza. No, I knew someone. I knew someone was going to say Alireza. Alireza is not traditionally known for going into complications. He's just doing that in this tournament. He's not traditionally known for it. He plays sharp positions, but there is a guy in the tournament who has a completely opposite style to Magnus. Magnus aims for simplifications, but this guy's style is purely complications. He loves complications. Who am I talking about? It's not Alireza. Alireza is a great guess, but it's not Alireza. Alireza does like complications as well, but not as much as this guy. Nepomniachtchi can also do it. Nepomniachtchi can do it, but he won't go for complications in every game. I'll give you another hint. This guy plays sometimes dubious lines. He plays dubious lines sometimes, but uh, but these dubious lines are very hard to refute. That's how he prepares his openings. Who am I talking about? Yeah, you guys probably won't guess this, but it's Fabiano. Fabiano is the one who's known for complications. Rapport just plays weird openings. Fabi. Fabiano will always go for complications. One game that you guys can check out is Fabiano versus Donchenko. Donchenko was white or black? Donchenko was can't remember. I think Donchenko was white. It was a semi-Slav, I think, semi-Slav or Slav. No. Fabiano will go for complications. Just because he plays Petrov doesn't mean he's solid. He plays Sicilian everything. He always complications. That's why I learn much more from analyzing Carlsen's games than I do from Fabiano's games. Uh, Prague actually played one dubious line, no, against Gukesh. Rest of his opening preparation looked pretty solid, didn't it? Rest of his opening preparation were all good lines, as far as I can recall. Only in Gukesh's game, I think he played an objectively dubious line, but still, Black's moves are very hard to find. Oh, the F5 Spanish. Okay, I see your point. Sorry about that. I completely forgot about that one. Oh, then you can argue he played French as well. He played French as well. Okay, I see your point, guys. I see your point. It's sort of reversed. Yes. I see your point. Apologies. I acknowledge my mistake. Uh, yes, it's happening a bit opposite. But if you go like throughout the years and you analyze games of all these players, you'll realize that Fabiano goes for complications. Also, one day, can you analyze Anand versus Topolov match? Yeah, why not? Why not? Like when I think of Topolov, I think of actually Kasparov's Immortal. That was one hell of a game as well. That was one hell of a game. Let's see what has happened here. Bishop take. Oh, nothing has happened. Just bishop takes. Nothing has happened here. I think Hikaru's taking the decision. Knight c6 or knight g6. And can we actually appreciate that Vidit has managed his time a little bit well in this game? Can we just appreciate that? Yeah, this Fabi in this tournament is not the old Fabi, I would agree. Because candidates is at stake. He's not that strong anymore. That's a big statement to make. That's a big statement to make. I would argue he's probably not in his prime, but he's still very strong. He was in his prime when he was playing against Carlson the World Championship match. That he was becoming crazy. You guys remember how many games he played in Petrov and crushed people as black? He started playing Petrov and people were not able to do anything. You guys remember that era? Before him, people were not playing Petrov, were they? That much on top level. But yeah, let's see the other games. Okay, Alireza. What do you think is going on here, guys? I have no idea. Yeah, Nepomniachtchi is playing Petrov, yes. He's also good at Naidov. Nepomniachtchi is also amazing at Naidov, Sicilian Naidov. Let's see how we reached here. Let's try to learn how Firouzja timed the pawn break. So after King E7, he played Rook E2 and not A5, which personally I would have played A5. King D6, Bishop D2, A5, Rook G2, King here, Rook F1, and then G5. Yeah, and Nepomniachtchi is in trouble, by the way. Yeah, that was a good one. Yes. Firouzja's idea is consistent. He did not go for A5. So once in his mind he has fixed that he will only go for the G5 break, it was a good idea to get his pieces into action first and then play G5. So Firouzja did. You know what I'm worried about? Firouzja's time. Look at that. Firouzja's time is not the best, is it? He's got to make 11 more moves. If he manages to make 11 more moves, I would say very high probability he wins. But positionally, he's just outplayed Nepomniachtchi in this game. Positionally, he outplayed. Nepomniachtchi showed some weird understanding of the position. He did. I remember that game. Alireza did play knight c3. Now g5, like Nepomniachtchi has to take the decision. Huh. You know what a funny thing is? Let me just point out something funny. Uh, let's say king b7. A move like g6, bishop g8 blocks everything. This bishop has no square. The g8 bishop has no square. But now Indian gives like a plus 1.5 evaluation, but I think it's a draw because there is no way to break through, is there? So sometimes you can't trust Indian's evaluation. This is a draw. No way to break through for either side, is there? Press, exactly. Although the bishop on g8 and the rook on h8 can't ever come out. C3 might be risky for you because you weaken d3 and b3. So, and plus, I'm never forced to take. I'm never forced to take. So you're not getting anything. I promise you. This is a draw. I promise you. If you play bishop e3, he doesn't have to take. He doesn't have to take. So we can say it's at least a draw. Yeah. Maybe if white had a knight, then we could argue for something, but without a knight, no. It's a draw. Although engine says like 1.4, doesn't it? So of course, I'm actually a bit surprised that Firouzja went for rook h2 and not rook g2. Oh, he wants to put the other rook on g2. The f rook will go to g2. And then he'll take on f6. That's my thought. That's my thought. Way too risky. Isomaniac, evaluate the risks. When you play c3, are weakening d3 and b3 a lot. In which case, black's h7 bishop, which currently is useless, can become active. So I think the risks outweigh any possible benefits. This is c3 is what we would call over pushing. Over pushing, especially since your pieces are on the king side. Black's king is completely safe, so you're just over pushing if you play c3. Firouzja has made a move, it seems like. Seems like Firouzja has lost some of his advantage. Well, little bit. Engine line, let me check. Engine said G takes H6. I don't know what the difference between two moves is. And then play H5. No, now it changes evaluation. Okay, this is the best line by Engine as well. This is the best line by Engine as well. Let me get rid of this chess.com bug first. Okay, so Firouzja didn't do anything bad. Yeah. It's fine, it's fine. I thought he could have put the rook on g2 first, but maybe he didn't have the time for it. Let me see. So why can't we play rook f2? Oh, black gets to trade his bad rook. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, black gets to trade this bad rook, so why to allow that? Just take. He will, he can put his rook on g6. Yes, it's a possibility. Will it happen right now? I don't know. At some point, maybe. Well, Nepomniachtchi is playing quick because Firouzja has to take decisions under time pressure. But rook g6 looks cool to me. I don't think you can lose after rook g6. It's a question whether black can make a fortress or not. Rook g6 definitely won't make you lose. Question is, will it make you win? Worst case, I'll tell you why it won't make you lose. Worst case, you can take and plug the queen on f5. Worst case. Worst case, you have a draw. So you won't lose. Question is, can you win? H5 pawn will march towards victory. Maybe the g6 pawn. Yeah. Yeah, if you take on h6 at some point, then the h5 pawn will march. I agree. I agree. Yeah, this is. I mean, I'm expecting Alireza to play rook g6, but we'll find out. Does happen, guys. Does happen. We have it. We have it. We have it. FG6 coming right up. Hoo 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 hoo. Seems like my prediction is coming true, right? Nepomniachtchi is getting further and further away from winning the candidates. No? My prediction is coming true, isn't it? My bet was on Hikaru. Well, Hikaru's losing as well, so oof. Hikaru's yeah, let's check what's happening there. This is scary for black. Vidit has played this very nicely. Vidit has managed to get rid of any counterplay. Like Hikaru took with the knight, which was a mistake. Some of you were here when I was talking about this. You remember when I said that you weaken your king just to regain a pawn? You remember that? Yeah, that's crazy actually. Winning against Hikaru twice is crazy. But you remember I talked about Black's king being weak. This is what happened. Hikaru fell for this. Knight d5. And it happens to be the case that now we see Black's king is weak and White has an outside pass pawn. So there is no way Black has any advantage here whatsoever. Imagine you have an extra pawn and your opponent does not have an attack and your opponent's king is weak. Yeah, yeah. Funny, funny. Ah, tough for Hikaru. But, well, let's not forget about Hikaru's defensive skills. We know what Hikaru can do in defense, you know. His defensive ability is unparalleled. Yeah, pretty much Isomaniac, pretty much. Hikaru's beating all the leading players, but no, Vidit is far. Vidit is far. It's quite unlikely. I mean, in theory, yes, but it's unlikely. The current most likelihood, well, before this match was Hikaru. Now I think it's Gukesh. I'm losing hopes on Nepomniachtchi. Yeah, yeah, this is technical. Vidit is technical. So technical positions are favorable for Vidit. Especially if he makes it to 40 moves. How far are we from 40 moves? 11 moves. 11 moves to be made in 11 moves to be made in 23 minutes. Very possible, right? Very possible, I think. Gukesh, Isomaniac. Gukesh. Our Indian lad, Gukesh. Yeah, Gukesh will be taking the lead. Prag will be closed. Prag will be joint lead. Yeah, if Gukesh wins this one, he is on a 1 point lead. If Gukesh wins and Nepo loses, yeah. This is worse for Hikaru. No chance of winning. Maximum a draw for Hikaru here. Maximum a draw. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, guys. Where are we? Nepo is really putting Alireza under time trouble. Alireza has to decide queen takes f6 or not. Queen takes f6 is actually bad. There is queen g4 by black. Queen takes f6, queen g4 check. Yeah, with it actually helping Gukesh and Prag. I like it. Yeah, nice way to put it. I mean, Hikaru must be thinking like he's beating all the leaders, or at least he was starting to beat all the leaders, and then he loses to Vidit twice. That's actually nice. But it's not over. It's not over. Hikaru is known for his defensive ability, so still not over for him. Okay, so if Alireza doesn't take on f6, what does he do? What else? What is the other idea? Okay, queen f5. So you want to use my bailout technique. You want to use my bailout technique that play queen f5 and say that I can't lose. It's a bailout, but I don't know if it will win or not. Maybe black has more chances of creating a fortress there. Maybe. Or maybe not actually. Good question. Good question. Does queen f5 win or does it make a draw? Well, no, I think with two weaknesses, I think white has a good chance. Yeah, white can win with queen f5. What was the engine's line? Well, let's see. Engine's move disappeared all of a sudden. This move was king g2. Who suggested king g2? King g2 was the best move. Yeah, let me show queen g4 line first. Yeah. So if you take, oops, takes rook e8. You take, there is oh wow, queen g4 check is a mistake. Queen g4 check is a mistake. King h2. Queen takes h5. King g3. And this queen is trapped. This queen is trapped. Well, you can play queen e2, of course, but come on. Queen f7 check. King goes there. It's mate after rook f6. But it's not queen g4 which was the problem. It was rook f8 first, actually. And then when you play here, he gets to exchange. And queen g7 now creates a sort of a fortress. This was the problem. Wow, even I missed this. Even I actually didn't calculate queen g4 fully. I thought queen g4 and black should be fine. Apparently not. Apparently not. This line is fine. Without rooks, it becomes... how about queen sack for two rooks? Where exactly? Oh, okay, here. Now queen g4 check. King h2, queen takes h5, king g3, but now queen takes g6. Earlier the pawn wasn't hanging. Now it's hanging. So you go here. Now I give a check again. You come back. I give a check again. Come back. Check again. King here. And now I can take. And well, you're not winning this one. You're not winning this one. Black has more material and more activity. You're losing this one actually. Funny, funny. Ooh, ooh, crazy. Firoza e1, trying to go bishop h4. Could have played king g2 actually, or even queen f5. Both of them were really good. The problem he faces now is that after rook f8, bishop h4, rook e6, it's very hard to break now. There is no g7 yet. You can try queen g4, threatening g7. Apparently, rook c6 defends. Apparently. I would still give white some chances after rook f5, honestly. I think this is a very solid blockade. Yes, 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 yeah. King g2 just stops some useless checks. That's all. Not useless, I mean stops significant. Yeah, okay, sure. Let's have a look. So let's say if I were to play king g2 and you were to play king b7, for example, here queen f5 works well, but actually queen f5, rook e6, king f3. Oh, okay. We are running with the king here and then we are ready to take on f6. I think that's the idea. My thought was, why couldn't we play king h2? Rook e6 still. Okay, fine. So you can play king g2, and then when let's say he plays rook e6, you can play king g3. Engine says you can play king g3. You can't move the rook because h6 hangs. Let's say you make a move with the king, a pass move. Eventually, king wants to go to this side of the board. Eventually, that's the plan. King wants to go to the other side, and then you are free to attack as much as you want on the other side, on this weak side. But just make your king safe. That's what Engine is saying, and it's reasonable. It's reasonable. That's what Nepo did as black, right? So now it's white's turn to do the same. You know what the funny thing is? I planned to stream for 1 hour, but I got such good engagement that we are on for 3 hours. Didn't expect that. Yeah, you know what? Isomaniac, I actually agree. You know, if it was bullet chess, I would place all my bets on Alireza. Let me have a look at Vidit's game. Still nothing after knight d5. Gukesh Praggnanandhaa. Gukesh has a slight edge because of the weak d6 pawn, this outpost, some pressure along f file. So some pressure, but black has a file. So this one is oh, collab with other streamers, mate. I've got like 60 subscribers. Come on, I've got like 60, 70 subscribers. Who? How to collab with big streamers? You think I'll ask Hikaru for a collab and he'll agree? VD sure. Well, actually, now that you say that, I actually made a video with you know, Apex Chess, this guy with 6,000 subscribers. Apex Chess. I collaborated with him. The videos will be out soon. They're gone for editing. It was essentially me commentating on his, analyzing with him afterwards. The analysis will be on my channel. The commentary would be on his channel. So you can have a look there. But yeah, once I start to gain some more subscribers, I will definitely collab. You know who I really want to collab with? Can you take a guess? At some point down the line. Rook b2 is a good move by white, stopping rook a2, by the way. So, I mean, nothing significant for Gukesh. He can't really lose this one. No significant problems. No, not Same, not Hikaru, not Agedmater. Give you a hint, the chess villain. The chess villain. That's the one who I really want to collaborate with. Big fan of him. You know who I'm talking about, no? Who's the chess villain? No, Magnus is the chess hero, the villain. Hans, now you're talking. Really want to collaborate with Hans. It's really fun. I like his playing style a lot, and think he's got a little bit of attitude, no, which makes him very interesting to watch. But yeah, fun guy, fun guy. Okay, back to the commentary. Rook b2. I mean, black can probably play. The problem for black is he can't play rook a3. If black were to play rook a3, the d6 pawn would fall. And I mean, you know, Praggnanandhaa will probably time knight f5 or h4, h5 somewhere. And, you know, try to take advantage of this d5 pawn. You could also put knight d5. Practically speaking, this position is sorry, I mean Gukesh will do all these things. Praggnanandhaa's black. Praggnanandhaa will have a harder time finding the best moves rather than Gukesh. Gukesh's moves are easy. So my guess is a favorable result for Gukesh in this game. Either a draw or a win. I created one and that wasn't the best one, was it? Pretty lame. But you know, if I tried, I think I can create a good one. I can try. Do you guys want me to try and create some studies? Uh, I do think I can make something work with logic. Do think I can. I've never tried actually. After that one, I didn't try. I'll do. Okay, if you guys think so, I can try to make a study, a real good one. Rook d8 by. Imagine you're having to play a move like Rook d8. Not much position as black is there. Now f7 is a little bit tender. Got someone to discuss lines with you. Who are you talking about, Isomaniac? Oh, get someone to discuss lines with you. We could let me gain some subscribers, mate. I made this channel one month ago. I uploaded videos for 1 week consistent. Then I was preparing for a tournament, so I could not do week 2 and 3. And now I'm back in week 4. So I was playing a tournament, so I could not upload in week 2 and 3. Week 4, I'm back. And how do I get someone to discuss lines with me? Like, I mean, I have friends who are lower rated players. If you want, I can bring them on if that's something that suits you. But uh, I am in England. You want me to invite grandmasters or something? I have a few in my contacts. I can potentially invite someone. Would you guys want to see a grandmaster? I know an Indian junior personally. He might agree. 25. Anyone, even if they don't know how to play chess. No, I'm joking. But what strength would you want? Like, if I were to invite someone, bring in Michael Adams. That would be fun, yeah. But Adams doesn't speak a lot, so I don't know. You'll just be staring at him. He doesn't speak a lot. 2000 plus, yeah. I've got 2000 plus players. Not actually that many, but a few. I can make some attempts to bring them on. Well, if I consistently get as much engagement in my stream as I'm getting today, well, why not? We maybe at some point I'll collaborate with ChessBase India as well. If I gain this much engagement, they won't mind, I think. But the idea is to I can try to bring a grandmaster soon. I know someone who might agree. I can try. Okay? That would be my thing. Okay, which game now? Let's look at something. If something happened in Vidit Naka. Okay, position simplified. Hikaru under trouble. Hikaru under trouble. +3 for +3. 2700 grandmasters generally don't misplay +3. So yeah, with it in good shape. Once this knight moves, we are expecting rook d6. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Oof, oof, oof. Ah, yeah, rook d6 is coming. No, what to do with this knight? With it, yeah, there is no way on earth with it can lose this position. He's even up on time. No way on earth. I mean, in some scenarios, I can expect a 2000 player losing this position as white, but with it cannot. And I give it like a 70-80% probability that he wins. 80% probability. Yeah, what do you think about this one, guys? How do we feel for Nakamura? Hikaru Nakamura under pressure. Okay, plus 3.5. Yeah, no, he has definitely stepped up his game. I agree with it. Been making more victories and more consistently. Oof, oof. You guys are watching from India, right? What time is there? You guys don't sleep or something? You all are crazy. Probably like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in India. You guys are crazy. Rook d6 as we predicted. 3:43 am. Mate, do you not sleep or something? Is sleep like are you allergic to sleep? This is wow. Either you guys have yeah, you guys have got insane passion for chess, it seems like. Isomaniac, I must say I oh wow. Wow. Isomaniac, you were there for the whole duration for the last stream as well, and now you're here as well. Really appreciate that, Isomaniac. PS, you have been there for very long as well. Really appreciate that. AJ Styles was there for a long time as well. I don't know if PS is there as well. And the other guy was there as well. Who was it? This one other guy was there for a very long time as well. I think he left now. Candy Shop. Yeah, Candy Shop was there for a long time. No. And guys, if you could like this stream, I don't know if you already have, but it just boosts my algorithm, right? I get pushed on a bit more. So that would be really appreciated if you could like the stream. With that, Hikaru has played Queen A2. Interesting move. What is he intending? He's going for some trickery. I am trying to anticipate what. When Hikaru plays moves like these, he's going for tricks. Queen A2 is a. Oh wow, PS. Thank you so much. Well, it actually doesn't make a difference, right? You mean with two IDs? If it's the same email ID, then it doesn't make a difference. If it's different email IDs, then yeah. Really appreciate that, PS. Thank you so much. Knight, yeah, but what's the idea of Queen A2? Yeah, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, great stuff, PS. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll get more viewers in the coming streams. And now, I don't know why can't we play Knight G4? Is there some trickery? Knight. Knight G4 rook. You can't play rook C2. The E8 rook hangs. Like, let's say if I were to go with Knight G4, what happens? Rook takes. Queen takes. Rook C1. This guy, Hikaru. This guy always has tricks under his sleeve. He's still winning for white, but it's such a nice trick. And now I have to play rook d1. I exchange a few pieces, and now I can argue that this gives black more defensive chances than with rooks on the board. Uh, yeah, I mean, this guy is tricky. Although Engine does think that knight g4 is still the best move. Well, at least on a lower depth. Engine still thinks knight g4 is best. Rook h6 is another option by Engine. Yeah, I mean, personally, if this was my game, I would probably play knight g4. Like, knight g4 looks more intuitive to me. I would be scared to grab a pawn on h6 against Hikaru. But probably there is nothing. Probably there is nothing. Yeah, in knight g4 looks safer to me. Knight g4, rook takes, queen takes, rook c1, rook d1. and it's all sorted. Yeah, that's this one. I mean, Vidit has enough time to decide what he wants to do, unless I need to refresh. Oh, he went for rook takes h6, so he went for the more complicated line. He went for the more complicated line. Maybe I think it's complicated and he doesn't. No? He's claiming that black does not have any counterplay after rook takes h6. And he might be right. I think if now rook c2, you have knight d3, don't you? If rook c2, do I have knight? No, knight d3, knight e2 is a draw. But queen d7. Attacking this rook, putting pressure on f7. If you play rook c8, the idea is quite cute actually. You go queen f5, queen h7. Very cute idea. So yet to see what Hikaru replies with. My guess is he's going to try for rook c2. I don't think there is a better practical attempt. What else could you do except rook c2? Do you have any suggestions, guys? Rook d8 is the one which I can think of. But if you play rook d8, don't I have queen g4, for example? Queen g4, no. Probably not. Why not? There is rook takes e5, rook takes e5, and queen a1 winning the rook. Okay, so always have to be careful against Hikaru. Yep, it doesn't. Yeah, you can never be too careful against Hikaru. Like for a moment, I thought Black had no tactics, and then I make some moves, and it turns out well there are these defensive resources. Well, technically it's late at night, so my calculation is not in full shape, but you know, still, no excuses. I miss some tactics. Hoo hoo, rook c d8. Most likely scenario. Most likely scenario. Rook takes e5 also doesn't work. It doesn't. Yeah, right now it doesn't. Hikaru has to find good moves under time trouble. Imagine with it blunders. Imagine some sort of blunder by with it. That would be crazy, won't it be? Rook c5. So you're leaving your e8 rook unprotected. Uh, Rook c5. Actually, let me calculate myself. Rook c5. What can I do? Let me think about it myself. Can I play? Yeah, queen b2. Well, he plays queen b2 because I was intending something after rook c5. Wait, I'll show you. What was? Can I play rook c5, queen d4, and then threaten rook h8, knight g6, queen h8 mate? So let's say rook here, queen d4. Well, okay, let's say you make a random move like rook c8 back. I thought rook h8 was there. It's still there, it's just not as efficient. Knight, it's not made. What am I talking about? There's king h7. Sorry about that, guys. I've lost it. A knight g4 check is working and knight f6 wins. But better move than queen d4 is probably rook c5. Better move is what? Wow, rook c5 is actually not easy to deal with. The best move is g3. The calm g3. Not easy to see, is it? So I would say PS, you made a good try. The best move is G3 here. Not easy to see at all. Because you always want to play an aggressive move like queen move, and then you realize that G3 simply attacking the knight is great. The point being you can't take on E5 twice. There is queen D8, queen H8 checkmate. So if I play G3, you take on E5 twice, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen D8 check, king G7, queen H8 mate. So rook takes E5 is not a threat. Yeah, so it's a good advice to check whether your opponent is actually even threatening something. In this case, he isn't. Let's refresh. Queen B2 by Hikaru. Plus 10 for Vidit after queen D. Doesn't look like Hikaru's defending this one. Knight c4 might be possible, but queen d7 is so much clearer. Why would you play knight c4? Queen d7 attacks f7 and threatens queen f5. So clearer, but knight c4, does he have takes? Okay, let me not make. Knight c4, rook takes e. I don't think knight c4 works. Knight c4, rook takes e1, queen takes e1, knight e2 check, king moves, and then I take on c4. So you don't have any rook queen e8 checks. I'll put it on the board. Knight c, rook takes e1, queen takes e1, knight e2 check, king moves, and the knight hangs. And you are playing for a draw here. White is the one who's playing for a draw. Queen d7 wins. PS, you are correct. You are correct. Chess.com has got to sort out this bug. Oh. Okay, let's refresh. Seems like, oh, guys. Look what happened here. Our boy could not win. Our boy could not win. Nepomniachtchi is in the race to win the thing. What do we think about that? What do we think about that? Nepomniachtchi defended the worst position. We have a draw. Okay, until then I'll go to the different one. Like queen here. Oh, black actually made a fortress, didn't he? Black did make a fortress. I mean, engine. Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know if you would have won with the king b2 idea as well. I think this black setup is same. And I think engine's evaluation is misleading. I think it would have still been a fortress. I told you, right? Like white can't lose this one, but winning might be hard. Because it really all depends on whether black can make the fortress. But yeah, king on b2 would have given white more chances. I agree with that. Really, the thing is, if I put a king on d7, a queen on g7, how do you ever break through? Or king on d6 actually, why even pin? And a queen on g7. In either setup, how do you win? I fail to see it. My thing is that the key mistake came from playing bishop e1. When you played bishop e1, you lost control over the h6 pawn, which allowed black to make the fortress. If white had kept the bishop on d2, then this rook would have not been able to move. But since Firouzja played bishop e1, things started to get out of hand. didn't they? Like, this is where Firouzja started to lose his chances a little bit. Maybe this was the right opportunity to transfer the king to the other side and start with king at queen f5. I think PS that was your move or someone else's move, but someone suggested queen f5 was in agreement with that. Queen f5 would have worked very well. At least better than what happened in the game. You want your bishop to be on d2. But Alireza probably made an error again in time trouble. If he had more time, he would have considered it more thoroughly. But, well, we have a draw. What more can we do? Let's look at, well, great defense by Nepomniachtchi. Still in the lead to win the thing. I wanted Hikaru to qualify, but no. Has he? No way Vidit has blundered, has he? No. No, Vidit has played Queen D. Yeah, for sure. Now Queen D7, Hikaru's defensive chances are reducing move by move. Plus 12 for Vidit. 8 minutes on the clock. I do not expect any errors. Queen f5 is coming and queen f5 is resign. If white gets queen f5 in a good circumstance, well, everything is a good circumstance, but as soon as queen f5 is played, it's resign. Queen f5, queen h7 is just over. Maybe Hikaru will resign right here. Who knows? He could resign right here. But yeah, this is with its game and Hikaru losing the lead. What's Prag doing? Or Gukesh, both, either of them. Same game. Oh, Hikaru's shaking his head, guys. I have the video. I'm like the chess.com broadcast. Hikaru's shaking his head. He's like, I really misplayed this. I really misplayed this. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hoo hoo hoo. This is boring as well, like equalish position, probably ending in a draw. So, well, I guess Gukesh and Nepomniachtchi will maintain the lead. Actually, there won't be a much change. There won't be a much change. Only Vidit. Every result is in favor of Vidit because all of them were draws and Vidit will get a lead. So not lead, I mean half a point closer to gaining lead. So everything was in Vidit's favor today. Yeah, I will end the stream after Hikaru resigns. Is that fair? Other games are boring. They might go on for another few moves. So sounds fair. Just as Hikaru resigns, we conclude the stream. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, PS. It's not about the fact that it's in India. I'm in London, so it's 11:32 p.m. here. But just as Hikaru resigns, we can end. Until then, let's give it a few more minutes. Oh, you will take some rest now. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I thought you said you asked me to take some rest. No, go on. Of course, mate. You gotta sleep. You gotta sleep. See you soon. See you soon, mate. Thank you very much, PS. Everything is a finish, Isomania. Queen f5. Queen f5 is coming. Queen f5, queen h7, queen h8. Queen f5, queen h7, queen h8. So Hikaru can resign anytime. Come on, Hikaru. Let me rest as well. Plays queen b3. Now queen f5 is over, right? Oh, queen f5. Oh, hi Ram. We're just looking at the finish of Hikaru's game. I think Vidit just wins after queen f5. So we're just waiting for him to play that, and it's resigns. Come on, come on. You have any thoughts, Ram, on this thing? Oh, queen f5 scene, queen f5 scene. And now my prediction, resignation. Oh, you were there the whole time. Wow, okay. Since you weren't in the chat, I thought you had left, but yeah. That's awesome if you were there the whole time. That's actually awesome. Really, really appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much. Supporting a new YouTuber. Like I really didn't expect to stream this long, but your support is what led us here. Oh, ho, ho. Come on, Hikaru, come on. Time to resign. I'm just looking at my screen, the broadcast. He plays knight g6. Come on, this guy. It's a practical attempt. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, Hikaru's saying, well, with it, if you take on g6, your rook hangs. Question is, can you take anyways? Or I'm looking for the cleanest finish. I like clean finishes. What's the cleanest finish? Let's find it. This is why Hikaru is so good at defense. Just when I thought he should resign, he comes up with this beautiful resource. Ah, okay, he's not making this easy for me as well. But could I? Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, imagine rook takes g6. Can you just play king h2, threatening rook takes g6? This is what Karpov did, like in some of his games. Oh, he goes for this first. Okay. Oh, maybe you can play king h2 one move after. I think. Okay, brilliant move by Vidit. F takes, queen takes. Oh, we might see a rook left actually. Rook e3 might come in. We might see a rook left soon. Let's have a look. Well, Vidit can't lose this. It's about the cleanest finish. Come on, VD, greedy VD, greedy VD. Oh, Hikaru has resigned. Hikaru has resigned. And this was the finish. King h8 takes. King goes there. Queen f6. King g8. And eventually rook comes in. So I called for the rook left. And the checks don't work out. Check and king h2. Yeah, with that, I can conclude the stream. This was a great time with you guys. 3 hours and 40 minutes. Didn't expect that to go that long, but well, Vidit is now tied for points with Hikaru. So, you never know. He still might have a chance. Never know. Still might have a chance to win the candidates. That would be a surprise. But if it is what it is, then it is what it is. With that, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Thank you very much. Really appreciate some of you. Like you were there the whole time. Awesome.